And welcome everyone. It is John the Net Guy. Very excited to be here today with you for a special live stream about the Gamdias Atlas M1 case. This case with me right here, gorgeous looking case. I'll tell you, they reached out to me a couple months ago and they said, hey, we've got a new case we want you to check out. Here's the link to it. I went to that link and I was blown away for a bunch of reasons, which I'm going to get into today. I do want to make sure my audio is working right. I want to make sure everybody was able to get in. Hey, everyone. Because it's a very special day, we have a giveaway today. Not one product we're giving away. We're giving away 3. We're giving away an Atlas M1 case. And we're also going to give away a Boreas fan kit over here. So if you're looking for an upgraded CPU cooler, we've got one of those. So we're going to use that in our build today. We're also going to be giving away the Aeolus. This is their brand new cableless fans. So you're going to get one of these 3 items if you win. And again, we're going to do a progressive drawing. You only have to enter once, which is going to be really awesome. I see checking on the chat. I see a couple people in here. Let me know in the chat if the audio sounds right. That's always a thing we want to check here early in the show. Don't want to go too far without that. So that's the giveaway. I'm going to get you the URL for the giveaway down below. I'm going to put that up right now. Now, the only thing you got to remember is you got to be here to win. So you're going to stick through it. It's going to be about a 90-minute show. I have a very special guest that's going to join us here in about 30 minutes once I finish talking about just the basics of this build that we're going to be doing today. And we're going to have a fun time. He's never been on the show before. Brand new guest, but knows a lot about gaming and PC building, so we're going to be excited to see him. I already see another YouTuber in here, Jonathan Talks Hardware. Thank you so much for joining. If you guys could do me a favor, again, because, again, small channel like this works really well if you share this with your friends. Again, maybe the odds go a little bit down that you're going to win something, but it helps everybody. So thank you so much, again, for those that do share this out on X, you share it on your socials, or do whatever you do. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm going to pull up the giveaway right here. I've got it like right on the tip of my finger. We're going to bring that up here. So at the bottom, you see where it says thenetguy.com/415. Not case sensitive at all. Don't worry about it. Just type it in any way you want. Thenetguy.com/415. Fill out that form. That's the giveaway entry form. Contest rules are there, so you get all the information about it. It is open only to U.S. residents. I need to clarify that. We can't ship this thing all the way around the world. Some of these things are pretty heavy. So U.S. residents only on this one and must be present to win. So you just have to let us know in the chat that you're still here. And then I'll follow up with you and get your information and get one of these sent right out to you, which is awesome. So thank you guys again for joining. I see a few people in the chat already. Happy Swedish Guy gives us a little wave. Jonathan says, it looks like you're not using the mic you normally do. Yeah, I'm not. Hopefully the sound is good enough. Let me know if I'm still understandable. Because I've got the special guest, I have to have headphones today. So I'm using my gaming headset. Hopefully it survives the whole time so that we can do this. So thank you so much, Swedish Guy in there, for checking in. Jonathan's already entered. He says, I'm in. You only have to enter once, and we're going to do a progressive drawing here towards the end of the show. So you're going to be entered to win all these. Now, if you want to know what we're going to be taking a look at today, I've put all of the parts for the build inside the video description. So if you're looking on X and you're watching this, go look at that thread. It's going to have all the parts in that description. If you're looking on YouTube, just expand that description area instead of the live chat, and you can see all of the parts. Now, those are affiliate links. Full disclosure, I get a very low single-digit commission on these, and I thank you so much if you do decide to purchase one of these. I loved this case so much when I opened one about a week and a half ago when I got it and I started looking at it, that I actually bought one of these for my nephew who's 12 years old. He's building his first PC. So give him a quick shout out if you can in the chat. He's going to be following along here. All of the steps in here you can do yourself. So if you've never built a PC before, you want to build something cool that looks like this, get that parts list out of the chat. That's where you can go do it. You can drop it into PC Part Picker if you want and change some things around, however you want to do it. But if you've never built one before, you can do this. And this is one of the easiest cases to build in, which I love. I'll show you a bunch of features about the case that make it better. Sounds like you're in an empty room with a cop, like some cop videos on TV. Well, you never know. I might be able to switch up mics if we have to. Let me know what it sounds like. I know you guys are so used to my overhead mic. Jonathan Talks Hardware is already coming in with, I love the screen on that case. Me too, man. Let's talk about the case here. So we're going to go through the parts, and I will just bring up some of the highlights of them. I've got them loaded up here on the Gamdias website, and we can take a look at that. So the Atlas M1 is an ATX case. What does that mean? Well, the larger size motherboards, the ATX motherboard. So in this case, tonight we're going to build with a B650. So that's the motherboard. This one here is a B550 in this one. If you see the 650Ms or the 550Ms, that just means it's an MATX, so it's a little bit shorter. This is going to fit the full-size motherboard, so you've got that room. It fits a 240 millimeter AIO up here, as you can see I have in this configuration. It fits up to a 360 millimeter up top. And for once, they finally include enough room to fit the radiator and the fans together up there, so that's great. I love that, so people can build easier in it. Additionally, it has a full 410 millimeters for your GPU. So you got a monster chunky GPU you want to put in here, you can absolutely fit that in here, which is another cool, neat feature of this one. Comes in two colors. This just happens to be the white one. I built this one last week just for fun. The white one came in, I was so excited. I said, okay, I got to throw it together just to see what it looks like. Let's talk just real briefly about some of the builder-friendly features. So it's got a tool-free design and tempered glass. So I can take the front off like that. So that makes it really easy to build in, right? So I can put my hand in here, I can get to all my parts. The front comes off too. So got to grab from the top there, and you can pull this front piece off. So now, if I'm building this machine, I have a completely build-through design. So that fishbowl idea, you can definitely see how that case opens right up. You know, it also has some other neat features that you don't see in a lot of budget-friendly cases. One of the first things I noticed on the back, let's take a look at the back of this one. When you're putting the back panels on, there's two things I noticed right away on this. It has very good ventilation. So the ventilation here is for the AIO or the fans that you might have. So if you don't have very good ventilation, if you have a solid back, or, you know, like the NZXT cases, you have that really small strip in the front that everybody complains about. That one cannot let air through. So one, it has that, and two, while there's not a ton of cable management room, they have kept this case so thin. It's really impressive. So when I pull this out, you're going to notice one thing about the front. It kind of notched in there. Well, that's because here, here, and here, there are index notches. So you've got these here. I can't tell you how many times I've put together a case and then the bottom's kicked out, and then the top's kicked out, or whatever, because it didn't actually fit in. This one has very positive notches. Now, if we're again doing a budget build, we don't have a lot of 2.5 inch, 3.5 inch hard drives anymore, but it has spots for your 2.5 inch SSDs, spot down here for one of your 3.5 drives if you want. Additionally, you've got your NVMe on the front. And again, you've probably got 3/4 of an inch for cables up here, a little bit tighter in the mid space, and then you've got the full basement. So unlike the O11 Dynamic, which again, you know, has a lot of the stuff behind the board and it's a really wide case, this one's gone for the height. But you notice one thing, look how narrow this is. So for a full-size ATX case, it's incredibly space efficient. It is a little bit taller than my NZXT over there, but it's a lot narrower. And I'm struggling for desk space width-wise. So fantastic option if you're looking for something to fit. And lots of little things that just seem to make the difference. Like, okay, so here's that back that I was talking about. They have a pad right here so it doesn't vibrate and rattle. So if you get a lot of budget-friendly cases, it's made out of, you know, very thin metal, when you put it all back together, the things like to rattle. So, you know, little things like that. And there's also ones on the front. You know, they have additional padding here around all of the other places where it connects. We'll keep this thing to be nice and quiet. Taking a quick look to see if anybody else is in here. Oh, Nemus, welcome. So he says greetings. You know, I just want to say, again, this is a completely live show. Let us know what your last PC build was in the chat. I just want to see what you guys have been building. Is it going to be an AMD? Is it an Intel? Is it a 12th gen? I just upgraded to a 13th gen over there. Today, we're going to be building an incredibly fast machine. It's an absolute rocket. I'm super excited about it. We're going to build it in the black case, so by the end of the night, we're going to have both of these cases up, and you're going to see what they look like. So that's some of the basics of construction on this. You can see the pass-through here for your 240 millimeter. So whether you use an AIO or you come stock with the 3 fans that it comes with. So again, affordability, good budget ATX case. It's going to come with 3 fans. They're ARGB. The one drawback, and I would say as a PC builder, they're they're not PWM fans. Sorry, they're static fans, so they don't have a ramp up or PWM. Now, a lot of your motherboards will actually let you do that. You can actually configure it in the motherboard to do those versus the PWM. So that's just an option maybe to think about. But then we're going to talk about the additional fan kit, which we're going to do kind of as an upgrade today. So I'm not too worried about that because we're going to swap these fans out. But that's a little bit of the tour of the Atlas M1. I'm going to talk about some of the other parts, and then we're going to get to building. So if you got any questions, feel free to do that too. Albert says, hides my cable management. Hides that cable management. Yes, it does. Well, as you might have seen, I didn't do a lot of cable management on this one. There's YouTubers that have time to do cable management, and then there's ones that put out content, and I don't do much of either. So it's great to have Gamdias again as a sponsor today. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about just the company itself. When I had 500 subscribers, they reached out to me. They saw some value there, and they said, hey, do you want to check out, I think it was the Talos case series back then? And I said, absolutely. And I made a couple of videos on there. I still get comments on those videos to this day. That's in such a great video series, and people are still buying and using that case. So they've been around for a very long time, specializing in a lot of good-looking RGB cases. So they got lots of lighting in here. Affordability is the key on this too. They're not going to be some crazy high-end, over-the-top pricing when you're looking for stuff. So, you know, it's somewhere in the mid-range, mid-budget range. We'll talk about some of the other parts here as well. So I'm going to go with the Boreas fan. Now, I've got a very fast chip going into this thing. This is going to challenge this thing, but I did some testing earlier. And we're going to talk about why an air cooler, not an AIO, might be the right fan for your next build. There's a bunch of different reasons why, and you would be surprised of a new generation air cooler, how much performance you can get out of it. So this has a 120 millimeter fan on it. There is no RGB on this one. So again, fairly straightforward, but it has a couple tricks up its sleeve. It's going to work with all of your Intel, your 1700s. It's going to work with your AM4 and AM5. So that pretty much covers most of them. So that's what our cooler is going to be in the solution today. I got to switch over and talk about the Gamdias cableless fans. Let's take a look at it more up close. I got 2 different versions of this. Now, Gamdias went through a few series here. So you see this is the P2 1203. So you can actually decipher those numbers. So you've got your M series, M1, M2, M3. I'm going to go over here and actually grab one of the Aeolus M3 just so you can see the difference here. So this was their prior generation fan kit, and you see that it has the ring all the way around the outside. On this one, they've made an incredible amount of upgrades. So this has a ring of RGB around the outside. It has infinity mirrors and no cables. So what does no cables mean when you're talking about fans that look like this? Well, you know, on the the P2 here, you're going to be able to link the fans directly together. So you can snap these fans together, then connect it to another fan if you need to, or directly to the controller or the ARGB, and those fans will run and work and do everything with that one single connection. On this one, you're going to actually have to connect every single fan to the controller, and if you use another company's fan kit, you may be using up to 6 wires for 3 fans. So 3 fans, 6 wires. This takes it down to 1, and you have full software control. So that's really cool. It does come in 2 different styles. There's going to be the P2. I'm going to bring it up here on the overhead so you can see them. So they just happen to send out both because I can actually work them together. So this is the 1203, the P2 1203. So it's 120 millimeter times 3 fan. This is the 1203U. This has a USB controller interface and a software package that lets me link up to 16 fans together. So very slick from the Gamdias company as well here. Taking a look at Happy Swedish Guy says he built a 5800X. I'm looking for the GPU. It's a 3060 Ti on a B550. I like it. A 980 Samsung. I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see his little build here. And a fractal design define S2. I love it. Yeah, that's a good little gaming machine. Probably at just under $1,000, right? Hopefully, maybe about 800 if you really got a good deal on your parts. I love it. Got another YouTuber in the chat, PC Tech Hustle's checking in. Make sure that you sign up for the giveaway. PC Tech Hustle, one of my friends. We're always talking hardware. So these fan kits, again, I'm very excited to use them. I have hooked up the fan kit, checked out the user interface. It works pretty well. I do want to tell you there's a couple other things coming up. I actually got to tap away from that. A couple other parts coming up here. That we're not doing a giveaway for it yet, but when I reached out to them, I said, hey, I think I want to build something a little bit wild. And since we're going with the cableless design, what about a modular power supply? What do you have? So everybody knows the power supply tier lists out there. Well, they said, hey, we've got the Aeolus. Check this thing out. The Aeolus P1 1000G. So G means gold rated, 80 plus gold. But check this out. It says a fully modular power supply. Every single cable is removable, meaning that we only have to hook up the cables that we absolutely need, which is really exciting for me. So we're going to be able to keep the number of cables down in here, again, because cable management's not my thing. So I don't have to deal with all the extras, but I have a ton of room and I have a ton of excess power if I decide to upgrade this in the future. So if, again, you're going to follow this build guide, if you get something like this, it was available on Amazon for $139, and the links are in the description. It was on sale, $40 off this week. I don't know if that sale's still going, but a fantastic deal. And it also has the high power 12 volt rail here. So if you do decide to go with a 4090 down the road, maybe you get really lucky and you work extra hard and you're able to find a 4090, you've got the extra power that's needed and a ton of extra for additional SATA and peripherals in case maybe you want to turn this into a file server. So very good power supply. Another interesting thing, you're like, okay, I've always been telling you 500 watts, 600 watts, usually pretty good for most builds. This is going to be a 7950X. It is an incredible chip. It's going to use a lot of power. The motherboard is going to be working, and the GPU is coming up here in a second, is a very nice GPU. That's also going to be using a ton of power. So put yourself in a power supply calculator. You're going to find your max usage, and then go look at the efficiency curves of these power supplies. What you're going to find out is that gold and platinum and all these are 90-95% efficient, but at an 80% usage. So when you get to like the very low end, they're not efficient, and you get to the very high end. So giving yourself a little bit of breathing room, not a bad idea. And for $99 to get 1,000 watt power supply, a fantastic deal here from Gamdias. So that's the Aeolus. It is not RGB. If you're looking for an RGB one, I really like the Kratos from Gamdias. Let's switch over to Gamdias's website, actually, since we got some time here. And we're going to run over to Gamdias's website, and sure enough, there's the Aeolus series comes up. But you can take a look at their PC components. You got their Aeolus fan kits. That's what I was just talking about. We're going to be giving away a 3-fan kit here today, which is awesome. We take a look here at the Atlas M1. This is the picture that just blew me away. If you take a look at that completed machine, now they're going to use, I think that one's going to have the other fan kit. That's got the M3 fans in it. We're going to upgrade it with the newest ones. But that cooler, take a look what they did on the cooler. There is a version of the Boreas, if you want to get it, even just separately for your machine, that actually has the temperature display of your CPU on it and some other information. So that was just brilliant. One thing I should mention about the temperature display on this, it does have ambient temperature. And the way that it does that is pretty brilliant. They actually have a thermal probe up in the back. So this thing's able to check ambient temperature from the thermal probe. So it's going to be pretty accurate as well. We like that. Just taking a quick look back at the chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything. And then we will get started to build here shortly. And I'm going to invite our special guest here coming up. I got a couple more products to get through. Now you could supplement. That's the beauty of building computers, is you can supplement these with whatever you like. That's the nice thing. So if you have an extra SSD around, or maybe you want to go Intel, you can absolutely build this in an Intel version. Maybe you've got a different GPU, maybe you've got something else. Like for example, Western Digital is not a sponsor, but they kind of are. They accidentally became a sponsor of this. So this is the Western Digital, the SN850 Black. So that's the SSD we're going with. Now this just happens to have the armor around it. It's going to work out for us, but you can get the one with or without the heatsink armor. 7,300 megabyte per second read speed, and nearly the same for a write speed. So over 7 gigs a second. So when you're loading your game We're talking super fast loading. Now, how did I get this sponsored? Well, I went to PDX Land. So some of you guys already know. I actually went to PDX Land. They have a big charity giveaway. Western Digital is a huge sponsor of that event. I just happened to have won this one. And I said, man, you know, if I'm building my ideal machine, PCI Express Gen 4x4, that's how they get those enormous speeds on here. So that's going in my epic build here, my mega build. Last couple parts I'm going to show you real quick. DDR5 RAM. I'm going to load this thing up. And when I say load this thing up, you guys are like, what, 128? No. I wish I could afford 128. I'm actually going to go with 4 sticks just because I get the dual channel, everything out of there. But these are going to be 2x16 kits. So you get 32 gigs in each kit, and they're 6,400. They say megahertz, but I believe they mean mega transfers because it's the whole DDR language thing. So these are 2 that you could get. Now, if you don't want RGB, you don't have to go with this style. I happen to like the look of RGB RAM. And I think when we have the cooler in here that's going to be blacked out, everything around it's going to be RGB, we're going to go with RGB RAM. So pretty slick. Jonathan Talks Hardware is checking in. His latest build is a budget build. $300. Look at that. A 2600X, 16 gigs, went to 32. Good. B450 stock cooler and an RTX 2060 with a SATA and then a 2 terabyte drive. Man, that's a good combo. I love still spinning drives for if you have low bandwidth where you're at and maybe you don't want to have to download your games over and over. That can be pretty cool here. The Swedish boy checks in 17 to 1800 US on parts. It's expensive here in Sweden. You know what? This is about 1800 in the US for the PC build that I'm coming up with here. So that's right about in it. And we're looking here. Jonathan's talking, debating on looking at an aftermarket cooler. Hey, you know, if you win the Boreas, I'm sure it will work with that socket. So that will be kind of fun. We'll try that out. So again, that was the RAM that we're going to put in it. Just taking a look at our list, make sure I covered everything. I've gotten through most of the stuff except our GPU. Now we've got a friend coming up that's going to know more about the GPU, so we'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to go through the motherboard I chose for this one. Part of it was economics, and part of it is just reliability. I've had some trouble recently with the Asus boards. I bought an Asus ITX board. I sold the PC on Java. And wouldn't you know it, it's the only PC I've sold on Java that I actually had issues with like a month later. Like it's been burned in for a month. I sent it off to the guy halfway across the country, and it just one thing led to another. Had another YouTuber help me figure it out because it was closer to ship to him, and it turned out it was a bad motherboard. So, you know, you deal with those kind of things. This motherboard here, so this is the Aeolus Elite AX, full-size ATX, and guess what? I already put the CPU in. That's the only step I'm skipping on here for you guys today. I promise we'll do the rest together, but because of the pins and not wanting to damage some of that and get this all working, I'm going to leave the CPU in. But again, you can follow the instructions on how to do that. So this is the motherboard I chose. It's going to have a ton of M.2 space for it. But one of the things that I really like is integrated Wi-Fi. And I know we shouldn't use Wi-Fi for gaming and gaming motherboards, but I like the convenience of having integrated Wi-Fi, especially if you're going to sell PCs that you build. You don't want to have to go hunt down Wi-Fi dongles and adapters, and the dongles never have really good signal. Also has 2.5 gig, and you know, there was a meme a long time ago about USB ports, and it showed a backplate that was all just USB ports. We're getting close, right? How many do I count here? 1, I've already got my adapter in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We've got a dozen USB ports on an integrated backplate, so you can't lose this thing, which I really like. It's going to have your standard audio. Tons, you know, a couple options, display port for video out, but you're really going to be using a GPU if that's your bag. So, hey, speaking of GPUs, I happen to have a guest coming in here. We're going to come back to this motherboard in a second, because we're going to talk about the Sapphire GPU that I have. So, who's better to talk about Sapphire GPUs than Sapphire Ed? Are you ready with us, Ed?
That was an amazing segue. So professionally smooth.
I love it. Well, hey, we've been friends for a very long time. I have to say, you're the one friend that calls me up on a Friday in your backyard, you know, having a good time, and we talk parts. And so I said, what would better to have on the show today than somebody that knows how to talk PC parts?
If only I was outside with a cigar and a brandy while we were doing it.
I love it. For the people that don't know, Ed, why don't you tell them who you are and what you do?
My name is Edward Chrysler. I'm the North American PR representative for Sapphire Technology. I'm also the company's gaming evangelist, which means I get to go around to LAN events and play video games, which
I
is
love
the
it.
coolest job on the planet.
I wish I could get paid to go to those LAN events. That's a good idea.
I
You
got
know,
one
it's
coming up.
oh,
We're
where's
going
that
to
at?
Million Man LAN in Louisville, Kentucky, the end of July.
I love it. I love it. Somebody says, "Wow, that's a lot of ports." We just got through that 12 USB ports on the back plate. I'm down.
You know what? The more USB ports you add, though, it becomes kind of silly at some point. I heard somebody the other day, they were talking about, it was on the AMD Discord, and they had the guys from Be Quiet. And they were
Mhm.
talking about how many USB ports they wanted on the front of a case. How many do you need? Okay, I've got a USB-C, two USB-As on the front of my case.
Mhm.
One USB-A gets used all the time for my wireless mouse dongle,
Yep.
but then
Yep.
that's it. I
Yep.
don't even it unless I'm going to hook up an external hard drive. I don't use them for anything.
And with the cloud nowadays, I don't even use USB keys anymore. I never thought I'd be thinking that, but no.
I use USB keys a little bit. I use them for like if I have to transfer files in the house because some of the PCs in the house aren't on the network.
Mhm.
Or, well,
Mhm.
they're not. Yeah, they're on the shared network. They're on the internet. Speaking of which, I got a grump with you.
Uh-oh.
Why would you say no Wi-Fi for gamers?
Okay, it is getting up there, but there's still if I've got a hardwired or my 10 megabit
Well,
connection, which run.
if you've got the option, I get that.
Yep.
If you
Yep.
go over to, here comes a quick plug. Here we go.
Okay.
If you go
Okay.
over to sapphiredation.net, you'll see an article I wrote that it's the current article where I wrote an
Okay.
article talking about how Wi-Fi is very viable for gamers right now.
Okay.
If
I'm pulling it up.
if you can't run a network cable, who cares? You can do if you've got Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, you can
Yep.
game all day long on it.
You know what's funny is my stepson is in the Coast Guard. We got a whole bunch of content coming up about him. He had a funny story coming up, but he's still on Wi-Fi and he is playing Apex all the time on Wi-Fi. So I have to maybe caveat that. Maybe it's just the old school in me, but let me know in the chat, what you guys think of Wi-Fi for gaming. That's a great article. I'm gonna have to bring that up. It didn't pull up right now, but we'll try that. We got to talk about GPUs, Ed, since you're the GPU expert here. I'm going to try to put you on the side here while I grab the GPU. Now, Sapphire sent out a GPU that's worthy of a mega build, the 7900 GRE. What's so special about these GREs?
Well, the GRE is probably a great. It's a extremely good 1440p card, but it's capable of being a gateway into 4K.
Yep.
So this gives you that bridge position. So if you're not sure, if you've got 1440p now and you want to go to 4K, this is a card that's worth consideration, and the price point is reasonable.
Absolutely.
The Nitro version you've got there is a beast. Triple slot, amazing cooling for this chip, just incredible cooling. RGB on the top and on the bottom. Now that was an interesting discussion when we did that. Does that have the RGB on the bottom? Maybe they took
I don't
it
know
off
if this
the
one does.
GRE.
Is that the newest one? Okay.
They might
I'll
have
have to
taken
see.
it off the GRE.
Okay.
Because I
Okay.
know when we did it, there was a discussion, and the reasoning behind it was there's all this move to those vertical graphics cards. It showing off in front of the case, so the bottom gets to show off its RGB then. But they might have taken it off with the GRE. I didn't realize. I don't have a GRE in hand.
You know
You've
what's
got
funny?
something I don't have.
Oh, that's fairly rare, actually. But you know what's funny is with this case, it does not do. It has looks like a vertical GPU slot, but it doesn't do vertical GPU. I was looking at that. That is one drawback, but I guess this makes it again a good GPU for this build. We got somebody in the chat that says, "I'm in love with the Nitro," and PC Tech Hustle checks in and says, "And no melting 12-volt connectors." It's kind of a dig there. When your PC is so hot it catches fire, that's kind of a
That's
gamer's
very
name.
important. In fact, Sapphire cards run so cool that if you go to a lot of LAN events, you'll find we give away things like wool, scarves, and beanie because you could freeze to death in the winters in your gaming room because your Sapphire card is that cool.
I love it. I love it. And I did go to one of those LAN events recently, and I did bring my it wasn't a Nitro. It was actually a Pulse 7900 XT, and that was a great card. It handled all the games.
That's actually the card I run personally, is a Pulse 7900 XT.
Yep. For this build, I wanted to check out the GRE. We're going to throw it in here in a second, and I brought you along for this build so that you can kind of talk them through, you know, some of the things maybe I missed. You'll be my ombudsman here for the audience if I do something wrong. How about that?
I'll be your Jiminy Cricket. I'll sit on your shoulder.
There you
tell
go.
you all the crap you're doing wrong.
Just for people so you know, if you're going to be doing the giveaway, I did move the giveaway down here, and it's only because when I have a guest on here, for some reason, if I do this view, which is the view I wanted to, there it goes. It popped you up in the corner here.
Yeah, but it's overshadowing your powered by.
You know, I'm going to have to do something different someday. You know, they get what they pay for in this one. This is a sponsored stream, so I got to be in full disclosure about that. But again, I would do this. Don't tell them. But I would do this just because they've been such a great company here. Speaking of that, let's get started on this build. I've shown the products. I've shown the GPU. I'm going to go ahead and move some things around. I like to build on the motherboard box. And I don't know, Ed, what your theory is on that. I don't like building right into the case.
No. Always do it. I never build in the case at first.
Yeah, you know, you got so many little things that can go wrong. And, you know, if you have to warranty a part, God forbid, you don't want to have to take it all out of the case to do the warranty.
Oh, God, yeah. No. It becomes a nightmare really fast.
So now what I said is we are going to actually build this thing out. Then we're going to go ahead and throw it in. I've got the fan kit to upgrade. Just to show you what comes in a normal motherboard case. Normally you're going to have a cover that's going to go over this. Now, of course, AMD finally went with the LGA sockets. So you've got the pins in here. So you got to be really careful on your motherboards. It was kind of funny because I buy a lot of used CPUs and used parts. And that was the number one thing people return motherboards because they've damaged them somehow. So leave this on there for as long as you're going to do it, and put the CPU in once, and don't keep taking it in and out if you don't have to, right? Accidents happen. But, you know, some basic things that you're going to get in here. You're going to get that Wi-Fi adapter. So again, if we're on the 6E Wi-Fi band, that's good. You're going to have a SATA, which nobody's going to use anymore. Because honestly, you've got so many M.2 ports on this, and you're going to have your little tiny, you can't find these once you lose them, so be real careful with them, the M.2 screws. And then this one does include a block, which I thought was kind of cool. And I've seen these on a couple.
Which port is this again?
This is the Gigabyte B650. It's the Aeolus Elite.
M.2 screw.
What's that?
You don't need the M.2 screws. They've got those... well, mine do.
It does.
Mine, Boreas, has the quick release buttons.
I will take this off. It's hidden underneath here, and this is kind of funny too. The other thing, it has a cable block, so you just put your cables in and push them down one time, and you don't have to deal with like trying to get down to the edge of the case and slide them in. So I think that's a really nice feature as well.
You know, there's a trick you can do that you don't have to have those.
Okay. Is this a YouTube short I need to look for?
So take a moment and look at the front lights and power connections, and then look at a USB 2 header.
Okay.
They're identical. The pinouts are 4x5.
Yeah.
And you can use a USB header extension, plug it into your motherboard for that, and then it's as simple as at the back of the case plugging these in.
Oh, that's a great
tiny
hack.
plug crap.
You know, I think we're talking about a hack there. I never knew that one. I built a lot of PCs without that.
I've been doing that for years, man.
Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to take a couple things. One, I have taken off the stock cooler clips. So the AM5 had those stock cooler clips. I am going to take off the M.2 cover. This is going to take a small screwdriver, but exactly what you were saying, and I realized this once I finally took this heat sink off. They've actually gone to these, just a little push down tab, which is awesome because again, you lose those screws. I can, through the magic of the studio, bring this in a little bit closer. Okay, so we're going to load up the Boreas fan, if I can find it right behind me. We're going to bring this CPU fan in because I need to get that on there. You could do it before or after the RAM, but RAM clearance-wise, I want to make sure I get some clearance here. And again, I'm showing you every single step to build this machine except putting the CPU in. So you might have to Google that, but it's not hard. It's the same exact way whether you have the AM4 or AM5 based CPUs. So inside the Boreas kit, I'm coming back out here, they're going to have the instructions that you need. This thing is compatible with just about every CPU. Because AM4 and AM5 are pin identical here for the outside, there's some questions about pressure, but that's a whole nother story. This thing is going to work, and you're going to see the instructions are exactly the same for AM4 versus AM5. LGA 2011, it's going to have that in there. It is going to have a lot of little pieces. Don't get discouraged when you have all of this coming out. Take some time to, again, sort your parts as you get these things out. I'm going to put this off to the side. Now, it comes, and I've already put this in, so again, you're going to see some things that may not look exactly like yours. It's going to come with everything nice and covered. It is a heat pipe air cooler. Now, this one right here, we're going to talk about why this is so efficient in just a second, but one of the things I notice immediately is how tight the copper is on this. And if I run my fingernail over it, it's smooth. It's almost like it's lapped from the factory. And I know there's a whole bunch of YouTubers that do that. Now I tested, this is my old favorite, the Vetru V5. And I had this cooler on here and I tested in Cinebench. Now look at how much gap there is between the copper on a 5-pipe heat cooler. Same thing on this other one. So there's aluminum and copper, obviously. And this one, if I run my fingernail over it, I can get ridges in between these. I can feel it. So again, contact patch, surface, everything. We'll look at the stats on this one, but this thing performed incredibly well. It installs very similar to the Vetru V5. Again, fans, just so you know, one trick right away. They usually blow towards the grid, but maybe not in the ones that were coming up, so we'll talk about that. There's the first ones that break that rule in a way. But yeah, if you're looking to see which way your fan's going to blow, usually the logo and the non-cage side is where the air is coming in at. So there you go. So again, this is going to latch just like a normal one, and it uses, in the case of our AMDs, it uses the stock backplate. So again, take all the little adapters out, and before you freak out and go, oh my gosh, there's bags of all this stuff. So, okay, so here's a 2011. We don't need it. This one right here is going to be for your 1700, your Intel 12, 13, 14 gen. Don't need it. You can look at this one, 1700. Don't need it. And your Intel backplate, don't need it. So again, you just eliminate those things, make your life easier. And this one was very easy to put in. I'll show you the connections for the AM4 and AM5 platform. So Ed, let's talk about air coolers versus that really pretty AIO I had here. What are you running right now?
Oh, I don't run liquid.
No liquid, okay.
You don't need it. People get so caught up in it, they're like, oh, I got to have an AIO. No, you don't. There are amazing air coolers. $50 and less, you can get an incredible air cooler right now on the markets. And these compete with 240 millimeter AIOs for all but the highest end chips. And also the consideration is, how much temperature reduction do you need? So if you're running, for what I do when I build, I use something like Cinebench for the CPU. And I do a 10-minute run on Cinebench. And if I can do a 10-minute run and not throttle, I don't care what the temp gets to. If I don't throttle, then I know I've got adequate cooling. Because when you go and you switch to gaming, which is what we're building, when you go and you switch to gaming, you're going to cut another good 10 degrees centigrade off the actual reality temperature when gaming. And if you're not throttling with Cinebench, there is no way you're throttling in a game.
Yep. It's funny, actually. I ran in Cinebench. This chip that I have here is way overkill for even an air cooler, even a 240. I ran a 240 and this together. I have the exact results that I can pull up later. They're neck and neck. And, you know, both of them, you know, the air cooler honestly did just a little bit better than the AIO. Both of them got up to that temperature because this thing's 32 thread, 16 core, 200 watt TDP.
Yeah, it's a little overkill for a gaming rig.
Like you're saying, what's funny is I paid not even close to retail for it. It's a whole long story. But yeah, I would not normally throw this in a gaming rig. But like you said, I'm not even going to use half the CPU when I'm gaming. I'm guessing.
When you get ready to put on the thermal compound with the direct contact heat pipes, there's an old trick we used to do, and I'm not sure how much it's needed with that cooler by how smooth you said it is.
Yep.
A lot of the direct heat pipe coolers had the problem there was always a tiny gap between the heat pipes.
Yep.
So what we would do is we would take some thermal compound and actually put it on the cooler and smear it in to get it into those gaps. And that keeps better thermal contact across the board.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do that your way. I like that, and it makes complete sense. I'm going to do that your way just a little bit.
We still use the thermal compound on the chip, but that light smear over the cooler to get all those gaps filled in.
Awesome. I love it. Hey, you know what's funny is we got people in here already talking. He's talking about the 6900 XT Nitro Plus runs really cool. So somebody is backing you up there.
There you go.
Talking about cooling. Yep, absolutely. Pinky Tech's giving us a hard time. Says, how long do you think this will take? We'll be here next week building a machine. So I'm going to put a little bit in those gaps, and we're going to spread it out.
Yeah, it doesn't take much because you barely want any on there.
Yep, and I'm going to use their little paddle. So we're kind of pre-spreading the thermal paste, huh?
Well, in this case, it's really just about getting it in the gaps.
Yep.
The thermal paste you're going to have on the CPU is the actual application. This is about making sure there's no big gaps.
You know what's funny? Like I said, how clean this thing is. It's actually not going away. Look how smooth and lapped that is. There's not like a line.
Nice. That's nice.
Yeah. So I'll put a little bit in the center here. Now, what's your in the chat, and Ed, I'd love to hear what's your thermal paste strategy here.
Well, now I use the was it TMP? I use the phase changing pads.
Oh, okay, yeah, thermal pad. Okay.
When I use thermal paste, I usually use Arctic 4.
Okay.
And I spread. I don't use the dots and stuff. I spread.
Okay. I've always been a P in the middle method. Maybe I need to upgrade my thermal paste. Let me know in the chat what you guys think is your thermal paste method. Oh, and Picky's already ahead of us. Says, I like the frozen yogurt swirl technique. We could try. I'm gonna do a little circle, and it's kind of like dentist with toothpaste. And you know what? To be honest, when I did this earlier, I got enough thermal paste. I got over the edge already. So,
shame on you.
Yeah, I know.
On
so,
you.
Again, this thing is so flat that it honestly will do that. Now, again, Boreas M2-510 in here. This one is not the digital display. I was kind of wishing I could get the digital display one, but you know what? This is going to have so much bling already. The case has the digital display, which will show the thermals, which I'm super excited about. And, not too hard to build. While you were talking, I just threw those 4 screws in and the spacers. That's just about as simple as you can get when it comes to this. The one thing I like about this compared to even the Vetru is the Vetru, you only have the little pins, so you need to have I'm telling you, when I say long screwdriver,
yeah,
you have to have a long screwdriver to get to those. I'm able to use even just the simple Scepter mini screwdriver on these. I might use the big one to just lock everything down, but...
Wait, you're not using a Linus Tech Tip screwdriver?
Yeah, not quite. I showed a Linus alternative that was $18 that I've been using lately, and
somebody teased me. They said, "Why don't you use a Linus screwdriver?" I say, "I paid $70 for a screwdriver. If Linus wants to give me one, I'll be happy to."
This is another thing. So we're putting the fan blades on, and one of the things I've seen is some will go with the outer hole, some go right up against the cooler. This one goes on the outside edge, and I would just recommend, if I'm just mumble mouth today, man. If you are doing this for the first time, again, make sure you're following this along here. Put the cable down. That's just one simple thing you can do to make your life easier and make it look cleaner in the end. Now, if you had RAM clearance requirements and other issues, you could put the RAM in first and make sure that it cleared. You could mount it a little bit higher. Honestly, this fan fits just fine around the RAM. Let me go on the outside edge, and it's clicked on. And now water pump is going to go into CPU opt usually. CPU fan is going to go CPU fan. And if you were really concerned, you could actually twist tie and get your cable management all perfect ahead of time. But I like to tuck it usually, or as close as I can. So there we go. That part's done. And I'm going to scoot us right along here. I'm going to throw some RAM in this thing, and then we're going to throw an SSD. Luckily, there's barely enough room to get to the SSD. I left us there. But again, that's the art of PC building. These parts are all made by different manufacturers, you know, unless you're buying all NZXT stuff, right? You know. Here we go. And we're going to make them together. And that's the cool thing is, like I said in the beginning, you can kind of pick and choose. Maybe you don't want RGB RAM. So this is that T-Force Delta I mentioned earlier. One of my favorite RAM. This motherboard has tabs on both sides, so make sure it's completely open. In my case, the barcode goes back towards the fan, which is kind of nice, so you don't see the barcode on the final build. Slide it in from one corner, push, and push down on the other. I'm going to do it towards this other camera so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Now, if you're only using 2 chips, that's going to be the second and fourth, right? And then if you're going to do all 4, it really doesn't matter. So,
wait, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Trust me.
Oh, as if you're doing all 4 chips.
You want to use the same kit in the same setup.
Yeah.
So
okay.
First and third, second and fourth.
In case there's small variations.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, good. See, this is why I have Ed here. He's helping me out.
I've seen more than a few people just throw it in. Hey, Sabah. I've seen more than a few people just throw it in, and then they're like, why doesn't my RAM work? Little timing difference. Absolutely. Yep. And then, you know, the other people that never set the XMP, and they buy this really fast RAM, and then they, you know, been running it at, what, 2400 forever. Yeah. No, always set your XMP or your Expo.
There we go. So, okay, all that RAM is in there, and that should be good, and they all snap down just like that. So I think we've gone through the main pieces there, and I've got so many boxes. This is what's funny, like, you could actually clean up during the middle of YouTube live stream, or you could just throw things back in. You have the throw things back in camp. It's a giveaway to do. If you didn't sign up for the giveaway, that's what that scrolling URL is below. It's not just for posterity. You can actually win something. It is for U.S. residents only. I have to put that out there because I can't afford to ship.
Oh, dude, it's hard to ship just to the U.S.
Yeah, tell me about it. I shipped a machine to Florida. That's that one I was talking about with Java, and it had a problem. And it was $50 to ship it there, $50 ship it back, $50. And it was like, I'm going to lose all my margin on here. So that was the Boreas fan kit here. I'm going to save the Aeolus and everything else. We're going to get into, I mentioned that I won this hard drive. Talk about jealous, Ed. I don't know what you're running for an SSD. This is the SN850X. It's 7,300 megabytes a second. And it'll do all of it. Oh, it's crazy. So I'm going to turn this back around so you guys can see. And I'll actually try to see if I can get a better camera angle for you guys. Let's do that. Let's see if I got that right. Okay. Actually, no, that doesn't help at all. Let's go. That's the nice thing. We're doing this live. I just want you to see when you're building your first PC. Maybe it's this big, maybe it's not. I want you to see how these things fit together. Now, the M.2s, you're going to have 3 of them usually on these boards. I'm not getting into any of these underneath ones because we don't need them. This one, you push down, it opens that tab, makes it super easy. This is about the size of a stick of gum, and you literally just slide it in until it makes contact. Then you got to push down and push down on that little retainer, and you're done. They made this really easy because I can't tell you how many times I've lost that little screw. It goes flying.
That particular model, you're not going to use the motherboard's cooler, are you?
I am not. I actually posted that on Twitter the other day. I was like, what the heck is this? You know, I can't. You can get that cooler off, but it's built in, and I figure why not? And, you know, there's one other advantage I was going to say to air coolers, a couple other advantages. There's some passive air going over this heatsink, whereas if you have just a pipe, you know, if you've got one of the standard, you know, water blocks there, you're not getting any extra air. So, interesting.
That's one of the advantages of the top-down coolers when you've got small form factor builds.
Oh, absolutely.
That air splashes everywhere.
Great. Okay. I think we've got everything except the power supply. So let's talk about that. 1,000 watts. It is overkill. I think I covered that. You know, I recommend everybody use a power supply calculator. But one thing I mentioned earlier before you joined, you know, power supplies are peak efficient at like 80%. They drop way off at the low end and then they drop way off at the high end. So if you're going to be gaming all the time at 100% of your power supply, you're not as efficient. And then you don't have any headroom, which kind of scares me.
Well, you don't want to run anything at 100% all the time.
Absolutely. Yep.
I agree with you. I always look to try to put some overkill on the power supply. Now, the neat thing is, though, don't get scared about the numbers. I see this question a lot. You'll go to a GPU website, Sapphire does this too, and it'll say this power supply needs or this GPU needs an 850 watt power supply. But yet when you run your computer actually gaming, okay, my 7800X 3D and 7900 XT, gaming, I never draw more than about 475 watts of power. All right. So the question becomes, well, why do you tell us we need 750, 850 watt power supplies? Because we don't know the quality of power supply you bought.
Yeah, exactly. A white label, F tier.
Right. By making sure we give you a little overkill on the power supply, we ensure when you hook it up, it's going to work 99% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and you got a little bit of that headroom that we were talking about. Now, I've just hooked up the motherboard connector. This is also a modular, which is awesome.
Yes.
So don't have any extras. Now, there's a recommendation, and I don't know because I'm talking to a GPU guy. These cables that have the pigtails. I was always told, don't do the pigtail. Nope.
Okay, and so it depends on the PSU. It also depends on the cable.
Yep.
Some of them can do it and do it just fine. If you've got the option to not pigtail, don't pigtail.
Yep. Now, we're not going to benchmark with it here. I'm going to pigtail just until we put it in the case, so I do one less connection. But then when I go to put this in... Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll rule out a couple things here. So I'm going to put that one in here. Now, this is 2 8-pins. This is a little bit more power efficient than an XT, though, right? It's a little bit...
Oh, yes. 280? Oh, yes. This is ridiculously more power efficient. Well, so, in fairness, the XT's not that terrible.
Yep.
Everybody talks about how our competitors are so much more power efficient. If you look at the direct competitor to our XT GPU, the difference in power usage under heavy gaming load is 15 watts.
Oh, wow. Yep.
That's a who cares moment.
Yeah, at that point. Yep. And you've got plenty of thermals on this 3-wide card. I love it. Okay, so I'm taking the CPU connectors, the EPS connectors. I put the block of 8 here, so it's 4x4. There's also a split block in here, and I'm only going to use one of those because this is going to be power. Normally, I don't worry about these so much, especially if I have a power supply that doesn't have all of them. But with this CPU, I'm going to need all the chooch I can get out of it. So... here we go. I'm going to move a couple things around a little bit. I don't want the power supply fan facing down, so I'm going to move it. I'm also going to hook this up to my video so that we'll be able to both see it. So I got the GPU going. Have I missed anything? Let me know in the chat.
Keyboard.
I do have my little USB. I left it in there. I got my little USB, so that was a good call. I don't have my Wi-Fi connected. Just checking the chat, see if I missed anything. We got a lot of people coming in, checking in. Hopefully you have all entered the giveaway down below. So if you see that URL scrolling by, just hit that page, throw it in there. 1 entry per person, please. But if you've got a spouse, if you've got a kid, if you've got anybody else with a Gmail account, I'm not saying you can't do more than in one household, but that's what I would do. Okay, I'm not going to hook up the SATA connector. That's for our fans and other stuff. I just want to do a sanity check. I'm really just saying that did I get all my parts and my cables connected?
Pinky, it looks like you got the 8-pin plugged in.
This time, yeah. He got me on one of my builds probably a couple of years ago now. Now, I did this opposite. I have the computer facing the other way, so I can't do my cool, easy trick this way. But I'm going to lean over, and I'm going to push the power pins, and hey, look at that. Got some RGB at least on the top, so that Sapphire GPU is already doing it. The RAM just kicked on. You know, it's funny. You can never really see RGB on camera as nice as it is in person. My cameras just don't do it justice. Try it out with the light. Sometimes the GoPro does better. Yeah, it's got a little bit better on the GoPro there. So it's starting up. I'm looking for camera 3 here. See if we get a post. That would be nice. Especially since the show is a lot shorter if it doesn't post. So here we go.
Depends on why it doesn't post.
There you go. And TJ just put the location in the chat here. I got my GPU down. Uh-oh. What's my motherboard saying? Let's see. It has the diagnostic lights, and I'm old. DRAM. Ooh, it is actually saying something about DRAM. They are all pushed.
Pop one set. Try it with just one set.
Yeah, I see. You know, I wonder. I haven't seen it.
Ooh, never mind. Never
It
mind.
just moved?
Rude Girls
There it
just
is.
did the right thing. Yeah, it was the memory training.
You know, that's a lot of times people build and then you know it takes so long to start up, just like that did, and you get nervous,
we
like
that.
me.
We forget that.
Yeah, exactly. So it was actually just starting up, and it'll even reboot 3 times at least, and it's doing the training. I've gone through, and I know that I set the XMP profile, but let me show you where you can verify real quick. Trust yet verify. Don't look at my pin. I saw you guys. Let's see if I can type the pin correctly today. Okay, we are up and running. I love it. 1 second. I can barely see these things when they're on my little tiny multi-views. Okay, so this is the PC overall. Let me go into the task manager. I'm going to show you the performance. We are going to drop it in the case, and then we'll play around with the fan kit, and we're going to do the drawing, I promise, coming up soon. So there's the CPU, 16 core, but if we actually change this to logical processors, 32 logical processors. This thing's a hoot. And like I said, I wasn't going to benchmark the GPU, so I've got just the normal one, but we can go to memory, and there you go, 6,400 megahertz. That's a really easy way with no software that you can tell, and hopefully I can do this? Yeah. So there you go. So if you look down there, that's a trick. In Task Manager, you can find the 6,400, 6,000, whatever your GPU, your memory is trained at. You can make sure it made it all the way to Windows or whatever software you're using. So that's a good trick. We got our Wi-Fi here, but it's not actually doing anything. And did our GPU get detected? Guess so. And there it is. So now I don't see the GPU label on here, but that might just be me with everything covered up. So I think that's actually I'm in the corner. There it is. AMD Radeon graphics. There we go. So I'm in. Okay, so that worked. We've done our basic tests. Is there anything you normally check on, Ed?
Well, once I get the basic build done, and I don't turn on XMP at first. I run this purely stock at first. Okay. Once I get this up and running, I typically throw on a general load.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is I want to verify that everything is working the way it should.
Before we throw it in the case, right?
Right. Once I've got that, then I put it in the case, and then I actually run load testing 5-6 times during a build process, because every time I make a change, when I take the RAM and turn on the profiles, I run the load test again, because I want to verify the RAM's good.
Yeah, and what's the difference between 6,000 and 6,400, right? You know?
Well, in actual speed, it's irrelevant. But what I'm looking for is when you have an instability, if you know at stock it was fine, that's your fallback point. If you know with the RAM turned on, it's fine, that's a fallback point. So it makes it easier to track down instabilities as you go forward.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to get a couple chat messages in here for people. PC Tech Hustle says DDR5 is slow on initial post. That's clearly true in this one. How about illogical cores? There's American. Hey, there's another person with a 7900 GRE I know. He played right next to me. There we go. He was the first one I knew that had a GRE card. That's the iGPU. Somebody was asking about that. I think there was that second GPU that was in there. Yeah, so it had both. Okay, sweet. 5.3 gigahertz Swedish 7 with sheesh. Yeah, I don't even think that was maxed out. But let's see, I think it was 5.7 is the max on this one. But let's talk about thermals on this one. So this was running the Vetru V5. Again, one of my favorite coolers. It is a capable cooler. Now, I usually keep this HW info over. And then if I come over here, and this thing is in the way, You're going to see the total score on this one was 32,446. And if we come down, what does that compare to? This was earlier today when I ran it. So faster than the Threadripper, but again, a retail CPU that you can get today. So now that was on the other cooler. I can tell you I've had a 35400 on the 240 millimeter. I didn't snap that here. I put it in Discord, but if anybody cares to find it, it is on my Discord there. And if I come in here, I got to figure out how to click these. Okay, so this is actually what the Boreas did earlier, and I'll show you it running because it's kind of cool. So we come back here, thermal. Where was the thermals? Up top, right? Where did I put the thermal? It's going to hit the same thermals, so 95 still. So that's the TJ Maxx or whatever. So it's hitting the max thermals, but let's go back over to the upper corner. Sorry. And if I could maximize with a key, that would be amazing, but I don't know it. So this one did 35,909 on an air cooler. And so the other one, by reference, was 35,400 for my 240 millimeter AIO. And the Vitru, with just basic thermal paste, it wasn't really well done, is like 33,000. So again, they're all kind of within that range. You don't see like a significant reduction on the air cooling. Now, maybe if I had a 360 AIO, I could squeak a little more out of this, but I think when people see radiator coolers and all that, they freak out and they go, "Oh, it's got to be so much greater." But honestly, I don't think it is.
Well, it's going to also depend on the load you're going to put it on. Mm-hmm. Remember, the load you put it on with Cinebench is loading this up. It's taking every core, jacking it up, going to town. Yeah. When you're gaming, you're probably only using 3 or 4 cores at the most. You're not taking that processor to the max. So if you're building a gaming rig, especially at these higher end chips, you're not going to use their full capabilities.
Yep. The other one thing I would say too, and it was interesting because I know we talked a little tiny bit before the show, I run an air cooler in my streaming rig. And the one reason I do that for is I've had water pumps go bad. And when that water pump goes bad, there's no circulation. That heat pad is 3 millimeters, if that. Yep. And so you got no passive heat distribution. You can still finish your stream because it's, again, just doing some basic encoding. You can still be effective and stream when you have a failure. Whereas this is also maintainable too. If you lose a pump, that thing's gone. So 3 to 5 year shelf life, whatever they have. That thing, you throw it out. This thing, you put a new 240 on it, or sorry, a new 120 or 140, and now you've got a CPU fan again working.
The thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, and it's not as terrible as it sounds, but it should be considered. There's really only there's 2 points of failure on a cooler like that. The fan, which we discussed. Yep. The other point of failure can be the heat pipe.
Oh,
if
okay.
the cooler is not well built, the heat pipe can dry out. Mm-hmm. And that's really rare. It's really rare.
Yep.
But the thing people don't understand is when you get to a liquid cooler, now you have the pump, you have the fluid, you have the tubing, you have the radiator. By the way, you have all the various interconnects in all of that are taking place. And statistically speaking, now we're going to get really into math now. Every time you add another point of failure, you exponentially increase the risk of failure. So 2 times or 2 points of failure, twice as likely to fail. 3 points of failure, 4 times as likely to fail. And as you go up with this is the concern with liquid coolers. You take that into account, and then you look at the fact that, like I said, sub $50 cooler can be as quiet as a liquid cooler, can cool as efficiently as a liquid cooler, can give you the same performance as a liquid cooler, and can cost $50 to $75 less than a cheap liquid cooler.
And that 50 to 75 might buy you 3 more fans, so it looks like you've got an AIO up top or something, right?
It could buy you 3 more fans. It could buy you a better GPU.
Yeah,
maybe it could buy you a really nice video game that you want.
Now, why is it that the GPU guy mentions you could upgrade your GPU? I love it. So, I wouldn't expect anything less. I love this. And in the background, we actually have Cinebench. I just love how fast this thing rips through Cinebench. It's just amazing. to watch.
God, I wish games would use cores like this.
Yeah, multi-threaded. But, we are about halfway through the show here. I am going to have to do a drawing here soon. Just so quick reminder, we're going to get this thing in the case, and I'm going to do a drawing real fast right then. So it's just coming up probably in about 20 minutes. We'll do the drawing if I can get it in the case that quickly. But everything's tested out good. I've tested this out before. We had a couple questions asking about the temps that we had earlier. Was this measured inside the case? No, it was actually benched. So that's another good point. This is not case airflow, and you might have a path for air that's more efficient than this. I just happen to have an air conditioner blowing on it too, so that helps. But I'm going to shut this down. And Nima Stark says, great build. There we go. Yeah, so it went successfully. I haven't had them all successful, as PC Tech Hustle reminds us. Every once in a while. And we can do the heaven benchmark and other stuff, but I'm just going to do that when we actually get to the other side here. So I'm going to give it another touch on the shutdown button and see if it's set to soft shutdown. There we go. And then we'll get that case out. And like I said, this is a very easy case to build in. It's one of the things I noticed immediately. And yeah, you can spend more on a case. I think the highest I've spent on a case is almost $200. This case right now, the white one, was on sale for $76. So, again, that's about what you're saving on your coolers, right? So, there we go. Unplug these. Another thing, you're going to be amazed at when it comes to actually building inside the case. I'll show you a trick on this one. Because some cases, again, some of those really small ITX builds, they're just a mess. Like the NR200, that was a challenging one to build in.
There's definitely more effort required.
I'll show you this case. This is nice. So now it's not incredibly heavy, which usually is a sign on a case. If it's super light, that can be a dangerous thing. So I'm just getting my screen set up here. So that can be dangerous if it's not super heavy. But in this case specifically, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see all of this. We'll try to get my cameras all queued up here the way we want. Okay, I'm going to lift this up. It's a tool-free design. So I pull this off, so that helps, right? Get that out of the way. The front clicks off too. So the front clicks off, so now I can get to both sides and the tools. And then when I go to build this, especially if you're looking from that angle, I can slide the whole motherboard in this way into the slot. So
it's nice.
That's nice right away. I'm looking at the standoffs because my motherboard came with the MATX style here. So you can kind of see where they're at. And then I'm going to match those up here. I'm going to pull the GPU just to make things a little bit easier on myself. Don't drop the GPU. Don't drop the GPU. I tell you, people, I think, attend these live streams just like a NASCAR event. They're like, what's going to happen? What's he going to hook up wrong? What's going on there? So I'm just lining up my holes on this motherboard. So this standoff's going to have to go down lower. I'm seeing that right away. I'm going to need standoffs on the outside. And then it's going to have one right here that's also going to have to move. So let's talk about where they hid all the extra screws, instructions, things like that. Now, one of these that I got, it was an early release model, didn't have instructions. And that's, again, if this is your first build, it's nice to have some paper set of instructions. But to be honest, if you go to Gamdias' website, they have the updated PDF right there, and you can blow it up real big, which is nice. Here we go. Yeah, this one didn't have the instructions here, but I'll show you exactly where you get them. So it's going to have your zip ties, it's going to have your standoffs and everything in a bag here. I don't see a standoff adapter, which would be nice to help pull those standoffs out. Sometimes they have the screw adapter, but I'm going to use the needle nose on here. There is one really interesting piece here. I'll show you here. There's this little tiny U-shaped one. Any guesses, Ed?
Yeah, that's to hold a side panel on.
You got it. Exactly.
That's the little clip. That's the spare one.
That's the one you break all the time and you can't find it.
That's why I've got a 3D printer, brother.
Yeah, exactly. So they include that. Now, the cables down here are kind of interesting. There's a whole bunch of cables that go to this lower front area, and that's actually where the brains of that front panel are. Now, if you do or don't need this bottom, you may decide to remove it or keep it. A lot of times, if you have a lot of extra PSU cables, I throw them down here in the drive tray. So it's up to you guys if you want to keep that or not. The panel uses one SATA connector, and it uses one USB 2 connector, and then the rest of your connectors are all normal. So the reason that it does that is the USB 2 connector that front panel uses is to communicate with the software in here, the Recast software, which lights up the front and lets you set the Fahrenheit, Celsius, all that kind of stuff. So I never throw these out, by the way, these Swiss ties. If you get a bunch of them with your power supply and everything else, keep them, because you can then use them later to even just temporarily attach cables, and then you can cut your zip ties permanent when you're ready. Or I don't know, I move parts around computers so much, I don't think I should ever cut my zip ties, because I'm always guilty of it later. Make sure I've got everything I need here. So I've got my extra standoffs, which is what we were needing. I'm going to do the power supply second on this one. So, like I said, I actually have one of the sockets for these. So I'm loosening that up. Can I get that to be hand tight? Almost. That one's pretty tight. So this is one that we know is going to be in the way. It's going to land right around the motherboard fan area. Okay, so I'm going to move this one all the way out here. So I've got one to the outside. And the other one that I have to move, just every motherboard can be different. So you're going to have to just look at where all of your standoff holes. You don't want one of these scratching the bottom of your multi-layer motherboard. Maybe it works for a while, maybe it grounds out down the road. And if I was to say one other little nitpicky thing, and we're going to see it here in a couple seconds, I've got this really nice I/O shield that's integrated. I don't have to worry about all that. The connectors for the covers, for the slot covers back here, they are just push out. They're not all screwed.
No.
Yeah. If there was an upgrade that they could do, and that's why I always line up the motherboard and get the GPU figured out. And it is one of the most common first-time builder mistakes. I think you can actually push these ones outward, though. Yeah, you can. It looks like these ones will push outward. We'll try that, just in case.
I miss on the standoffs. Remember when the on that second column middle row, they used to make those where there was a nub on that one and not a hole, and it made it so simple to center up your motherboard and drop it in.
Yep, exactly, and you can kind of wiggle. That's what I actually put that first screw in. You're skipping ahead, Ed.
I missed that. I missed that nub.
Yep. I love this. War between computer parts companies is amazing for us. That's somebody wrote in the chat. I someday decide if I want to put the chat. I know a lot of people do this, and I'll just throw it in there for a little bit. We can put the chat up alongside us. Here we go. You guys be good. I don't want you to get me in trouble here, on YouTube. But there's, such great information. And that's the neat thing about YouTube as a platform, and Twitch and everything else. And there's so much great advice you can get. And most people are good about giving advice, and not, why did you buy that? Oh, that was awful. Okay, so again, a standoff little socket that they include, just the adapter, would be really cool here usually.
You don't have one generic one?
I do. Actually, I have the little socket thing, and I just don't know where it goes. I think it was upstairs.
I actually bought a little socket. It's like on the end of a screwdriver, but it's permanently attached. It's not a socket, but it's the right size for that standard, and I can just poke that down in there and twist them on and off as needed.
Oh, yeah, it is nice. I'll say, though, like, some of these can be really hard from the factory. I've seen those where it's like, you probably do need a pair of pliers to get them started, and then that could help. And then again, if you're selling an ATX case, I would almost configure these all for ATX, because a lot of people, almost nobody that knows, buys big case like this and then puts an ITX or an MATX in it, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, not a full-size case. Why would you?
Yeah, and it's funny because we were showing this dimensions earlier. It's a little bit taller, I think, than my NZXT 510 over there, but it's actually narrower. And my desk space, the width is what I worry about, especially with a couple monitors on there. So I'm almost done putting the standoffs in. That took 20 minutes. So if they configured this for ATX out of the factory, that would be kind of nice. They included the standoffs anyway. I can't imagine it would be much more effort. Those are down. We did say we were going to test the GPU. That was the other thing. So when I put this thing in, we were going to see if I can get those GPU slots to push outward. So if I do a newbie mistake, so I'm just lining these up. I'm going to take this fan. For some reason, the cable is routed down. I think that's the thermal probe. I'm going to look at that in a little bit, but put this over here. Now, if you are having clearance issues, and technically I could snake this in here, I think I still can, this upper fan is completely removable. So never feel bad about taking the 4 screws out of this upper fan and moving it. But I was actually able, I'll turn this around so you guys can see it, I was able to get the motherboard all the way past in there. And that's the thing I love about those integrated. It's all the way right up against where I want to be. And make sure, again, the nice thing about these, you don't have those things poking in your grounds. That got, last time it got me. Okay, cool. So we need to start putting some things in, assuming I can push out these GPU connectors. We're going to test that real quick. Let's see where I put everything that was out here a second ago. There we are. This is where the really long magnetic screwdriver comes super handy. So super long, reach way down. Thread that one in, and I just did the center one right here that you were talking about. So if I hit that center one, I've got a lot of wiggle in that motherboard. You can see I've even got some cables that went around that I can modify. So I'm going to put a few of these in. I may not do all of them. Sue me. We'll see. So I'm going to push that motherboard a little bit forward. Okay, there we go. So one person was asking when I was doing the kind of the pre-show on Discord, I was having some fun playing with the white one. They asked how much room was available for the ATX connector. So you can see we're going to want to run that one down. There's a ton of room here. There's probably a good 3/4 inch. But on some models of this style, they don't include a lot. You can get pinched in there. So this is
That's what Dremel tools for.
Well, we did that one theme build, and I did happen to use a Dremel to modify an old HP workstation case. I've done it before, but I try not to. But yeah, you can see why I use the Linus screwdriver is not doing this, I'm telling you. That corner, look at that. I'm right up against that corner on both sides. So, and then let's talk about GPU. Again, we said one of the things that's tough on affordable, budget-friendly cases, they don't include all the slot covers separately. And if you put your motherboard in and it's the style of slot cover that has to swing back, it's actually going to be a problem. So what I like to do is take the GPU, find your slot, just visually line it, right? Make sure I know that it's going to be the next 3 slots that have to come out of there. So I could take those 3 slot covers. Technically, what is your thought, Ed, on this? These 2 are just vents. They've already got a grill there. So
I'd go ahead and take out the 3.
Take them anyway? Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you didn't have anything, it wouldn't necessarily matter, but why not? These are flat on the backside is why. But let me do that. I'll take out all 3, and I'm going to see if I can, if I screwed up, can I push them outward? Yeah. So this one, nope, you can't. But the good news is metal is letting me.
By the way, folks, this is why you keep the spares when you have extras of the other, so that if you ever switch cards and don't need 3 slots, you can fill the hole.
Now, thank goodness for motherboards that don't have any caps or anything in the way, because this does bend inward and I'm able to cover it. Lucky dog. But yeah, if you had a smaller board in here that, you know, maybe did put an MATX in here, that would be a problem. Good, we tried that out. So we're good on GPU. I don't want to do that yet. I want to just make sure I get a couple more of these screws. Once we get this thing to fire up, I'm going to immediately go into our drawing because you guys have been awesome. There's a ton of you out there watching, by the way. This is John the Net Guy. I'm doing a live stream here for Gamdias. This is their Atlas M1 case. I'm actually going to do a little bit of change up here on the screen. I don't know if it's going to let me do all the stuff that I want. But there is a, move this to the side. there is a URL down at the bottom here where you can actually win one of these cases. You can win the same cooler that I'm using, and you're going to be able to win the fan kit that's coming up. I'm going to swap these fans out here in a little bit. After we do the drawing, I'll put the new fan kit in just so you guys don't have to wait around. But there is a cableless fan kit. I don't know. Have you used cableless fans yet, Ed?
Oh yeah, I've been using the Lee and Lee fans for a while.
Okay, because new to me.
Once you do that, you can't go back to the other fans. You want to kill people when you start having 20 cables.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to route and stuff. And
got to buy stock in a zip tie company, right?
Yeah. I have to go find all those bread tires I used to keep when I was a kid. My supply's running low.
There you go. I love it.
Well, they don't use them anymore. Now they use little plastic clippy things.
Yeah, they break, and I lose those every time I get bread open. They immediately lose themselves. Okay, there we go. So we've done the basic motherboard. We had the RAM in here. We had the SSD in here, NVMe in here. So we had it all. That kind of saved us some time. Now, technically, we would put the PSU in next. I'm going to do a little bit of just housekeeping here. I'm going to run my cables down.
Hey, John, they're asking, do they get to choose the color of case if they win?
Absolutely. It is going to be drop shipped directly from Gamdias. So that's the great news here, is you can choose if you want the white or the black. Great question. There we go. Okay, so we've got that motherboard connector down. I'm going to send this top one. Now, if you were going to install an upper AIO in here, make sure you get this top EPS connector, the CPU connector, before you do that. I've been there. I think I was doing that show with Nerd on a Budget, another sponsored by Gamdias, and actually Sapphire sent a GPU on that one too for Noah. That was our charity build. And we had to use, I think, needle nose and luck to get the CPU connector in. Perfect. Okay, we got those down. We're making good time. What's the longest stream that you've ever watched, Ed? And let me know in chat what you guys, what's the longest stream?
Longest stream I've ever watched?
For like a PC build.
I've never watched the time on those.
I don't know. There's a record holder in the chat. I don't know if he's going to put it in. I think
I could tell you the longest stream I've ever been a part of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that counts.
16 hours.
Ooh.
And so this is way back in the day. All right, get off my lawn. It is so way back in the day, MechWarrior 4.
Yep.
There was an online group that did tournament play to simulate the Solaris game world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the shoutcasters.
Okay.
And we held a special tournament called the Battle of the Pink Bow. I was the only shoutcaster that actually showed up, and I had this twisted sense of honor that I had to keep the stream going.
Yeah.
So it took 16 hours to finish the tournament. I couldn't talk for 2 days.
Oh, no.
It was awful.
Yeah, that reminds me of Prime Days, which is coming up. I'm going to be doing live streams on Prime Days, and I've got a bunch of cool stuff. I don't know if I'm doing any giveaways, but I did the Prime Days 2 years ago. I did 6 shows, hour-long each, back-to-back. I lost my voice just like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Know what that's like.
Well,
I'm just sticking an eye up.
I've done game events after 3 or 4 days. I'll come home and won't talk for 2 days.
Yep. You know what I'm noticing here? And this is, again, just a compatibility thing that you don't really find until you go to do it. I'll get on the top down so you guys can see me. I'm putting this USB 3 dongle. I'm looking to see if there's another USB 3 header, and they're using them out of the front side of the motherboard, and this is conflicting with that bottom fan. You see that?
Ooh.
Not good. So that means my USB 3 and my USB Type-C is not going to be usable on this. So what I need to do is get an angled adapter. I actually have one, I think, believe it or not. This is an actual working PC build studio here somewhere.
You can also get
90 years.
If they have trouble finding one of those that'll fit,
Yep.
they can also get a USB 2 to USB 3 adapter, and
Yep.
they can use a USB 2 header on a different portion of the motherboard.
You know what? This is funny. This is a 3 to 2. Like you were talking about parts. This is a 3 to 2 I just picked up out of the bin. But yeah, that was for another project. But no, I know I have a 90-degree adapter. I'm not going to hook that up because it's not necessary. That would be one thing if you're following this exact build guide, and I'll throw in the adapter because you're going to want a 90-degree adapter for that guy. Just again, fitment issues. There's one other thing, and I ran into this with the Taichi, the X570 Taichi motherboard when I was building it. The GPU on this one goes right down the line, and it barely misses the USB 3 header. That one right there is the Type-C header. My bad. So it barely misses that, but I've seen them. They put it right in line with the GPU. I have no idea why they did. This Gigabyte one is kind of tucked behind the memory, so it's going to be okay. But these are the kind of things you get PC building, right? Even a pseudo pro like me. So,
John, that placement of the USB 3 header, how close is it to that cutout? Could you use a 90-degree header that went straight down into the cutout? Or are you
no, not without modification of the case.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the way that they lined up. And I was looking for a second one because sometimes when they do that, they'll have a second connector or something in there. So this is what we're talking about exactly right here. Is this connector comes straight out, and so it would actually interfere with that fan. Now, you could change it up a little bit. You could raise the fans up. You could do a bunch of different things, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We'll skip that. Again, this is the art and time of PC building. I'm going to go back over here and get a little bit of our I/O connectors. I'm double checking the chat. I think you can actually tap the chat messages too if you want to bring them up. If you see something, anything interesting.
I got them. I can see them.
Yeah, I don't know if you click on them, if you're able to bring anybody up that you want to highlight. So I'm just doing the boring stuff.
Let me see. Let me try this one.
Does it work? Let's
see.
No,
I cannot do that.
Oh, man. See? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, I say, But we will get that. HDD LED. Okay. So I loved your idea about a USB 2 header. That's a cool idea. I've never thought about that. You could use that.
All sorts of neat tricks you learn over the years.
Yeah. So I'm just putting this last connector on for the power LED. Let's see if it lets me. Now, I promised it was a 2-hour stream, and I'm trying to keep it to that. So let's see how close I do. At least my wife thinks it's going to be. So this power connector, power LED.
Power LED is at the 4-pin at the end away from the 5th on the other one.
Yeah,
the positive is the one at the very end.
You're right. Yep, and
that's the universal standard.
Yeah, for some reason this one was labeled power LED again on the other side. I think there must be 2 headers on this one. There's a 3-pin and this too. Okay, so I got that in. I'm going to sneak this. One thing I noticed too, and you might like this, especially when we get our GPU run through here. It has a GPU power cutout here, so it's higher up on the garage, so you're not trying to go down from there. So that's kind of a nice little feature I noticed. I haven't seen a lot of cases that I've been getting the budget ones do that.
I typically try to run my power cable back across the back plate.
Yep,
but
I zip tie
can
them
see
down.
the advantage in this design for that.
Okay, so I got that all run at once, which is nice. Now, a couple things to just think about as we're running cables here. I'm actually going to see if I can get you a better view of this. That was a little better. So it does have a USB 2 header. So if you're having trouble getting the software to recognize the display that's built into here, you're going to take this USB 2 header, just like you would do for a normal motherboard connector to a case header, and you're just going to plug that in to one of your available USB ports on here. So you're going to lose a USB 2 port. Sorry. You shouldn't be using them anyway. There's 12 in the back to supplement. I'm going to run the HD audio real quick before I put the power supply in. Sometimes that can be helpful. And that goes all the way. Again, I do like the fact that it has such a huge cutout here. So let's go HD audio. Good. Okay. I think I've got all of it that we're going to do right now covered. And I've got a bunch of CPU, PSU, and we're not going to use USB 3. Okay, we're almost ready to boot this up. Let's get that GPU landed in there. And one of my friends, American, I don't know if he's still in the chat. He probably wants to win a case. He's a big builder. He loves building budget builds. But oh man, that just barely cleared. I love it. So he's been doing a ton of these kind of builds. He has the GRE, and the one thing he told me right away is to overclock it. I don't know what your theory is, or as a brand rep, if you can even say anything about overclocking.
Overclocking is not worth the trouble.
Okay,
If you need a performance boost, render scaling does it without the stability issues, without the increased power and heat, and can actually usually give better performance gains.
Yeah, that's true. So you're talking Trix Boost then, right?
Well, Trix Boost is the way I personally would do it. FSR is the other option for this particular card.
Yep, and that's native. There we go.
I like Trix Boost better because I've got more control. I've got a granular level of control. That to me just, so I can tweak that in just the way I need it.
Exactly. Yep. I don't need a ton of strength here, so I'm just going to put 2 of these in real quick. And I'm going to figure out where we want to route that. I think you're right. Except the fan in this one is very close. I noticed that too on my other one. If you did try to put a 240, we'll see what you see on the top.
Are those reversed fans?
They are blowing out, but they are not the ones that you can remove, which are coming up. So yeah, you'd have to physically flip these over. Yeah.
The reason why I say that is, remember, that's where the heat sink's exhausting air
out the back here, right? So it's blowing. Right. Yeah.
So it's actually blowing the right way. It's going to pull the air out, but that's not going to give you good airflow into the case then.
Yeah. So that's the neat thing about all these, and I'll show you when we get to the next fan kit that has. It's the first time I've ever seen reversible fans. Technically, I could run it down the back plate, I think. And again, I'm going to go ahead and double these up later, but for the interest of getting everybody's drawing in early, which I know we've got a ton of people watching now. We finally hit the critical mass here. So this is one way to route it. Hopefully that can reach my basement. I actually don't like that. I would say I don't want to hit the fan. I'm going to try to use their trick here. I'm going to run it through
their trick's not a bad idea for that layout.
Do that front layout there. So again, I could still zip tie. I like using zip ties if there's any room. Maybe we can talk Sapphire into putting a tiny zip tie hole or something in there. You know? I think that's the other thing is it's so hard to really make all the 3 or 4 connectors that you need look clean. So, he's ready here. I want to make sure I didn't lose that temp connector. So there is a temp connector. It is connected up front. Even the ambient, it's right here. So it is still connected. Just so you guys know, if you do see one of these connectors, it's right here. It's labeled temp. That's for the ambient temperature sensor. I think we're ready to drop a PSU in. So one trick, if you've got the room, is you can, with these, stack them all outside. They're outside, so these are going to be CPU. You're not trying to fight it. So way out here now. Okay. Anything good going on in the chat here? Anybody saying we're doing anything completely wrong?
People asking about the collab with Noab, PC, PH, and Pinky Tech.
Oh, yeah. Let's see what that one was.
And then Jonathan's talking about upgrading his sister's PC and wondering how many people have entered the giveaway.
Oh, you know what's funny is I've got to be really careful not to dox people when I pull the spreadsheet up, but all of your entries are going into a spreadsheet right now. This is awesome. And those are going to all be counted towards the giveaway. There's 1 entry per person. I don't know if you're going to see if you're really good and you can count the wheel entries. But what I love about very small channels is you have a very high degree of win rate. Instead of like a lotto, which is 1 in multiple millions, when you're on my channel, you're one of a few very select important individuals. Let's put it that way, right? So yeah, your odds are very good on here. I'm going to connect the SATA power up just because. Is it SATA or SATA in your opinion?
Tomato.
Okay, good. Because I know I've been saying SATA. I say them both. I interchange a lot.
Were you really worried I was going to be upset?
No. I just know some people. They they're set in their ways.
GIF, it doesn't matter.
Oh, now that we could do a 5-hour stream on the etymology of formats. Okay, I'm just putting the power supply, and if you're following along here, all of the links to all of these products that we're using are in the video description or below. And if you're looking on one of the other platforms, like I think we're on Twitter right now too, or X, I guess we should call it. And you can follow me on any of those platforms and maybe get a laugh or two. I do post a lot of my L's, as they call them, I think, when things don't go right. So I think I connected everything. I have been wrong in the past. I've got the SATA. There's a couple.
You tell.
With all of these cables, I don't know. And you know what? I didn't connect this one, and that is a fan connector, so I need to put that up the top. I think that is actually for the PWM. I need to double check and make sure that these are not PWM. The fans are all controlled by the little panel down here, but you're saying the back which now?
The back fan. Did you make sure the back fan was plugged into something?
Yeah, it should be. Let's see. That goes through the SATA connector. Let's see how close we are. I'm going to put this little cover back on for the GPU slot, and then we will see if it posts. Should we do some sort of bet?
I'm ashamed of you. You didn't use the anti-sag bracket we included in the Nitro.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I need to do that. You know, she's a chunky card.
It's definitely a chunky card. I'm a chunky guy, though. We got to make a card to match me.
Hey, the case is holding up. That's impressive. You know, maybe it's this. They need to make like reinforced power supply cables that push up. Yeah, you know. Okay. We're going to plug this thing in. What is the over-under? We are about to fire this thing up, which means it's time for a drawing right after that. What is the over-under that this thing actually posts? I want to know that, what people think. Let's see the fan. There we go. What's the verdict in chat? Do you guys think, did I miss anything?
Not really. It's stuff like laughing at you and none got entered.
I don't think I could say that thing about the GPU support there. There we go. Jeff got entered. Awesome. Jonathan Talks Hardware's in there. Did it already post? It did before I put it in the PC, you know. That's the big thing. This is the big challenge right now.
Did he actually plug everything in? That's the question.
Did I plug it in? What I am going to do now, though, again, if you haven't joined the drawing yet, make sure you do that. That's that 415 URL at the bottom. I got to switch over to now the just straight simple powered by, because what I had before is I'll be doing the drawing like 10 seconds after that, and somebody's like, I'm still entering. So we're going to do the post here, but the drawing is technically closed. Finish out what you're doing if it's just going in right now.
I'd be curious, what would be the first game you would play on this new system?
Helldivers.
Okay.
It's a good game, though. After I'm done benchmarking, Helldivers, yeah.
Come on, everybody else. I want to hear what everybody else would play.
Okay.
Right now, I think the first game I'd play would probably be Rogue Trader. I'm really getting into it.
Okay, I haven't played that one. What's the gameplay on that?
That's a CRPG set in the Warhammer 40K universe.
Ah, okay. Well, we are going to hit the power. Usually there's a blink of a light if I did something right. I didn't see anything.
There's a light.
But you know what I do see? Oh. I already configured this, so I'm kind of
okay. TJ can't win anything.
Tetris, no TJ.
Seriously.
Yeah, gone.
Seriously, Tetris on a gaming rig of this power.
I'm not allowed to say, and there's the reroll, right? Just double checking. I asked friends for some advice, and they said, whatever you do, don't say, and there's the reroll. Okay. It is already showing 63.5. Hopefully I can show you guys that on this digital display right on the right. It's really bright. You can adjust all that stuff in the app. So at least this part's working. I got that done. Here we go. We're going to hit the power button, which is down here now. Oh, there we go. Look at that RGB. Whoa. That's from the factory. $75 for this case, or technically 91 on Amazon right now. The white one is 75, and you come with RGB fans.
Pinky, you're going to make me slap you, man. You need somebody to just
I have to do something now. I have to go to Sheets, and I'm going to see the entries. I'm making sure I'm not on live on anywhere. I'm looking at the responses. Go ahead.
I was going to say, John, don't you live near Pinky?
I do not. No, not technically. I live next to Nerd on a Budget.
Record a video of slapping him for me for that.
Send it down to you. I'm with you there. You know what? And not only did it post, it's ready to go. It's ready to game again. It says, let's try this out. So this thing is running and working. I'm going to show you guys the software though now because.
Oh my God.
What? Of my background? Oh.
No, the guys for the games. They're seeing how either old they think I am or they're trying to irritate me. It's one of the two.
I think it's a little bit of both, maybe. Let's see here. Yeah. I'm going to open up the Zeus Cast. Now, it's a program that stays in the background on here. And let's see if I've got this running. Perfect. Okay. It's communicating now with the hardware device. Maybe it's a little hard to see with the color palette. 123 on the CPU. So now when I switch these, boom, it's right on the front of the case here. So let me show you as well. So
Can
now
you switch that to centigrade?
I can. I have to go in the software to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, 115. GPU is at 80F. Ambient is 63.9. Why is it so cold? Because I get so hot when I'm doing this. I have my AC pointed right at me. I know. And then I don't become a sweaty mess. But there we go. So it's 113F. Now watch this. I'm going to go into the software for it. So I go to 3. So I go to the software here. And now I could change those settings. I can also go into this Atlas Digital properties and just what you were asking about, the unit of measure. And I can change it to where's the centigrade? Sorry, it is hard to see on this little thing.
Yeah, I'm only seeing Fahrenheit.
Settings. There it was.
There it is.
So you do have to set it to auto run when the PC comes up if you want that information available. I believe this is the Zeus Cast software is also what they're using for the fan kit. And I believe this is what also does the Boreas cooler. So if you just wanted a Boreas cooler that has the gauge on it, I believe it's the same software. So now we are running, but you're getting basically a digital version of what the front display says. So it's 42.
That's nice.
I think we should run Cinebench real quick. See if we can burn it up. Let's see. Oh, it's 56. I could fire this up and we'll see how fast we can get this thing to 95, which is its max. So it's starting. There we go.
Wish they had done the I/O and the digital layout to the front. And the reason I say that is that side of the case, my computer sits on the left side of my desk. So it would all be facing away from me. That readout would be useless to me.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's, the funny thing is like the Aeolus M1, I believe is the first one. They allowed you to move their logo and stuff around. That would be kind of neat if this was a modular thing.
That would.
It's already maxed out, so Cinebench did not take long to get that, but you can see that that's the GPU or CPU. Let's see what the GPU pulls off here. 1 second. So this is that Zeus Cast software. Now, if you have multiple GPUs, you can actually pick the one, so that's kind of neat. So GPU 28, I do have a basic benchmark we can run, and I don't know if I have to set this thing to run in windowed mode. I think I would have to uncheck full screen here to get it to let me show you both. So very nice GPU, by the way. I don't even think I have the full software suite installed, but this thing has been performing. I think I'm at 400 and something FPS on this. It's not a hard test for it, but there we go. So now we're watching the GPU temps. Kind of cool, and that's also displayed on the front of your case. So you don't have to keep the app up all the time. I'm doing that for you. But yeah, this is awesome. I can actually see it right on the front of the case, show me the exact same number. So pretty slick little update for the cost of the case here. If I come back out, you guys can see it. That's a pretty cool little feature. And then the ambient is what's really got me, because then you get now an ambient temp sensor that's for the room. So that's going to be inside the case. It's going to tell you what kind of your air temp is. So very cool. I have everyone in here, it looks like proper, that has entered. I don't see any duplicates, which is awesome. And we are getting ready then. I'm going to close this window. And I'm going to pull up our spinner wheel. What order do you think we should do this, Ed? Should we go third, second, first place, and the case is the first place, or what do we do?
Randomize it. You don't know what you're going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Pick 3 winners and then roll like a 4-sided die to determine who wins what.
And then there's the re-roll. Okay, dokie. I think I've got this ready to go into full screen. We'll do this in, how about we'll do this in this order? We're going to go with the fan kit, CPU fan, case, just because that's how the order is.
There you go.
First person to win this fan kit here, this is the Aeolus. I was talking about them earlier. This is their cableless fans. We're going to do a quick upgrade for people that are sticking around here tonight, but we're going to do this drawing, and I got to figure out how to get the right PC up here. Hopefully that's seeing the prize wheel. So not too many entries, which I like, because again, you got better odds with me. We're going to tap the center of it. We're going to let it spin around, and whoever it lands on, we do need you to say something in the chat. Say, yes, that's me, whatever. I will follow up with the email address, that private email address that you gave me, and get your shipping info. And if you qualify and everything happens, we're going to make this go out to you. If you don't respond to me or something happens, then reach out to any way you can. In 14 days, I'll redraw the next person for that if you don't respond. So hopefully everybody's here. We're going to hit the button. And it's rolling. It's slowing down. Albert OG. Albert OG. You made it. You are getting the Aeolus P2 fan kit. This is a 3-fan kit. Upgrades. It's a cableless fan kit. So you're going to see me. I think we're going to put 3 across the top here and 2 in the front. Maybe replace that back one too. So Albert, you won that one. Did we see if Albert's saying anything in the chat? I don't know if you can see that. So hopefully Albert's responding. We're going to double check on that before we go to the next one.
By the way, you did have a duplicator. I see Thumper in there 3 times.
I did. I put him in there just so it makes it even. I give people more chances. So there are in there, but I did make sure that there were only 1 name of each when I pasted it in. So it gives a little more. Let's see. I'm going to go back over here. Did we get Albert checking in? Nice. He says, oh, that's me. Woo. Hey, Albert, you won it. You got the fan kit. I will get in email and get your contact address and information for the shipping. So very cool. That was the first one. We are going on to the second one here. Albert's name is now out. I gotta get through these ads. Albert is now not eligible. We're going to go on to the next prize, which is this Boreas M2-510. This thing is taking the 7950 at levels that a 240 millimeter AIO didn't. So it's very efficient cooler. It's going to work for your Intels. It's going to work for your AM4 and AM5. Here we go with the roll. I'm going to go into full screen too. And I got to bring that PC up. So here we go. There's the roll for this one. Good luck, everyone. Spinning around, and Harley. He's like, I never win anything. Harley, let me know in the chat. You just got a Boreas M2-510 fan kit. Very nice. I don't know if there's 2 colors on that one, but I can reach out and see. And if there are, you can kind of decide if that's allowed. So we're going to take Harley out of there. Thank you, Harley. Now, we're getting ready for the grand prize. Just want to, again, if you have not subscribed to my channel or whatever you're watching me on, go ahead and do that now. I really do appreciate that. And if you are watching and you did win something, or maybe you didn't, take a look at the Gamdias products online if you can, and give them some love on Twitter. I know they're on Instagram now. The US branch is on there as well. And so if you are on Instagram or one of those, give them a follow and tell them thank you for supporting the creator community. I can't do this without Gamdias' support, so that was awesome. And they've been, like I said, down when I had 500 subs, they were sending me cases to try out and things. So they saw something, but I've seen them do that with other creators as well. So they're a very big advocate in the small creator market. So again, support your small creators. This is going to be for the Atlas M1 case in your choice of color. So you get to choose between the very cool looking white one, the black one, which I think just as good looking. I love the RGB. I wish my lights in here were dimmer so you could see how cool this RGB is. But we're going to go back to the drawing and we will get this spinning. Oh, did we check if Harley is in there? Did he say? He did say something?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Harley, you got it, man. I just wanted to make sure. Go back to full screen. I don't want to not give you a prize, but here we go. Want to be fair to everybody. This is for the grand prize, the Atlas M1, in your choice of black or white. The big drawing of the night. Jeff won that one. Very nice. Okay, so Jeff, if you are in the chat, that's a very generic name, but hopefully you're in the chat as Jeff as well. He's here. Oh, Jeff says GG. Oh, Jeff, man, congratulations. Look at that. Jeff, thank you so much again for watching tonight. I will follow up with you about your address to send this case and what color you want. So Jeff is in here. Congratulations on the win, and thank you guys again that tuned in. I do have one more upgrade here. I don't know if you're still good on time, Ed. I'm going to do the fan kit. You're welcome to stay. If you have to leave, I know. So
going in a little bit.
Okay, cool. So we basically just did this build, and now how would we spice this thing up a little bit? It's a good-looking machine, I think, overall. For a budget build, if you got a nice GPU, you know, throw in there something with RGB. I just like RGB, but you know, you could start to sell budget builds on something like this, and you'd be very unique in Java and other places by having this. You know, if you look on the screen there, having that front panel with the temperature and display. You know, I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking of using the white one as kind of my main machine over there, but we'll see. Maybe I switch over to this one. But I don't know what you think on that, Ed. Budget build, $75, $80.
It's a good price for what you're getting. In the case, it's a solid price.
Yeah, and I'm going to put, since we have to get to both sides, I'm not going to put anything back on this one just yet. But I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to shut it down and lay it down on its back, and then we'll talk about the fan kit that we're upgrading and how they work and how they work with the software. But thank you, and again, everybody that's tuned in here. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Is that Kurilon? That RGB is really popping. Yes, it is, but we're going to bump it up another. That's awesome. Doug and Nikki says, peace out. Going back to editing videos without music. Wink, wink.
Yeah, on that note, then, I'm going to get out of here while you play with your fans.
Oh, yeah. Well, fans is a double there, you know. So I'll say hi to all my fans, but thank you so much, Ed, for tuning in. Sapphire Ed, and again, thanks, Sapphire, for sending out a GPU for this build.
Anytime, man. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, see you later. Okay,
Bye.
So we're going to talk about the Aeolus fan kit and what is included in this box. So this box, the U version, has everything you need to upgrade 3 fans and have digital control. It's also, this U version, you only need one of these to control up to 16 fans. So you can see it right here. It comes with 3. It comes with a USB controller and access to the software. If you don't want to go past that number of fans, if you don't ever think you're going to go beyond that, you could grab this one right here, which is in the very similarly numbered, I wish they weren't so close. This one is the 1203U, and this one is the 1203. Now, the 1203 also does come with a USB controller with a push button, so you can change it, and it'll support all the standard motherboard controls, but it doesn't have the app that lets you do all the cool stuff. So even if you had a motherboard that wasn't cool, maybe you're doing an old Optiplex flip, maybe an HP flip, if you get the U version, you can control up to 16 fans. So buy one of the U version, and then buy a few others of these fan kits. And so these are a little bit cheaper when you go to buy them, and that's how they integrate. I'm going to open this up real quick and just show you what's inside while we're here. Man, what did you guys think about having Ed on here? I know he's wanted to come on and talk GPUs and talk shop. That was a lot of fun. I learned a couple things even while he was on here. So if you don't follow him, Sapphire Ed and the Sapphire Discord is a really good place to check out. So this is the fan kit here. This is Aeolus P2. And you can see it's going to tell you all the basics about the fans. Because the wiring is so simple on this, it's even much easier. So it uses these little tabs to connect the fans together. And then they have this little tiny almost like a button that connects them. It's got a few little pins on it, and each fan connects to the progressively to the fan after it. Now, if you do need to go like a 2-in-1 configuration or a 3 across the top, we can upgrade this whole machine with 6 fans in just a matter of minutes. So this is how you do it. There are extensions, so that's what it's telling you right here, is that it's going to have a bunch of different extensions to jumper between the fan blocks if you do need to do that. But if you do have a run like at the top of here, you can do that with just 3 fans and 1 cable, which is awesome. So inside the U model, this is going to have that controller. So it's going to have all the different plugs. Use the instructions here, or you can look at the online ones. It tells you everything about hooking them up. And I forgot to tell you about the one most amazing feature that I think I've seen in this fan kit yet. The fans are reversible. And you're like, oh yeah, all fans are reversible. No. These fans are reversible with the blades. If you ran a fan backwards that's scalloped or shaped to catch the air and you just ran it backwards, wouldn't be nearly as efficient. These fans are actually designed with a removable center hub and grease. They're hydraulic fan bearings, so you can actually change them out. I'll get into that in a little bit, but that's another great thing about this fan kit. So let's go ahead and put these fans out here on the table. They're also infinity mirror fans. Now, I haven't taken these off yet, but these covers here cover the infinity mirrors, and that's how you can set those up. So what we're going to do, and I'm just going to set them up out here so you see what they look like. If I'm going to replace those 2 front fans underneath the GPU, I can push this together, and now I have my 2 fans, right? Well, when I go in here to the kit of all the other stuff, there is a syringe of my hydraulic fluid. There's all the other cables that we're going to get, the screws. Inside here, there's an additional fan blade and hub with the magnet, and that has the bearing in it, so you can literally pull this out. And if you look at the two, I'll get closer because it's a little bit dark, they're opposites. So even though the logo shows, and I'm going to pull the little tab off there, even though the logo shows correctly, and normally you would flip a fan over, then you'd get this ugly bar here. Well, this isn't actually that ugly. They did a really good job machining that. But, where you'd normally have a bunch of airflow disrupting and whatnot, you can literally pull this out and reverse the fan by putting in a different fan blade. So one of the few that I've ever seen allow you to reverse the blades like that. And again, because we don't have quite enough room to fit all of these in here, to do 3 across, I'm going to do a 2-and-1 design in the back. I'm just going to upgrade 3 fans at this time, which is pretty slick. So taking a look here, Ed is nice. Ed knows his stuff. Ed is awesome. Everybody likes to see that. And congrats to all 3, says Jonathan Talks Hardware. Thank you guys, man. That was it was really fun to do that. I wish I could do more of these. I've been cutting back a little bit on the number of shows that I've been doing live. I'm still putting content out on Amazon, but I'm not alerting you guys as much, and I'm sticking to more of the PC content. So right now, so I'm going to go ahead and shut the power off to this, disconnect the power as well. I'm going to go through the process of upgrading the fans in this kit. So I'm unscrewing the. If you've never done this before, it's actually really easy. So these fans that are in here right now have 4 coarse thread screws on each one of them. You guys where you can see it better. So I'm just taking those 4 out. Now you could also use these fans potentially somewhere else. So maybe you got a budget build that needs a couple extra fans. Maybe you've got a kid's PC. My kid's PC always needs more RGB. So you buy yourself a fan kit, you start the upgrade process, and then you can kick it down to the kid's PC. Go ahead and pull this. Now these fans are controlled by the SATA cable, and they're actually jumpered here to each other. So that's how they get their power and data from the motherboard. I'm going to pull these out. This fan kit also can be slaved to your motherboard. So if you've got other devices and you want to control it through the motherboard, you can absolutely do that. Nothing's stopping you. It has all the standard connectors. Jonathan says, I'm going to head out and grind out some more PC videos. Absolutely, Jonathan. So we're going to upgrade this. I wish I had thought about like screen capping what the RGB looked like before, but you guys can kind of see. These definitely have a unique look to them. And when I turned them on earlier, I'll show you a neat feature that they have. There's something that I really don't see a lot. And I was kind of surprised. When I get them on and we get in the software, I'll show you all about that. Let me know in the chat what other creators you watch during the week. I'm just trying to see if we've got some overlap. I know there's a lot of you in here tonight, and thank you guys again if this is your first time here. I'm John the Net Guy. I do a lot of Amazon content, but we're doing PC builds tonight. I think I'm one of the only guys that does PC builds on Amazon. So nice to have you here. Okay, so these fans, again, this is 2 of the 3 fans that come with it. They have these infinity mirrors. I'm going to go ahead and take the covers off. And I'm only doing that because I think it's going to be hard the way I've got the GPU and everything in here to get to those. But it's going to give you a little bit of light and reflected light on the side of these as well. There's also an RGB ring around them, and there's RGB lights underneath the fan blades. So you're getting kind of RGB all across there. Looks good. Now, again, I could rotate this many different ways. When you see the installation, not hard at all. I just literally slid that up and in. And now I can use the same course thread because these use the exact same course thread. And I can attach them that way. I'm going to put them in the exact same spot if I can. Now, this is going to be a little bit harder. Actually, man, those might actually be pre-threaded. I've almost never seen it pre-threaded. There we go. Hey, give a shout out to all of the creators you watch every week. There's another one in there. Pinky Tech says, watches Jonathan Talks Hardware, PC Tech Hustle. And I just watch the Net Guy for the giveaways and the laughs, right? The lulz. Oh, don't worry, I watch them too sometimes. There we go. So I'm just putting these in. Let me know. Give me a shout out any other creators that you guys watch. That would be awesome. I'm a big watcher of craft computing. I do like Zach's. I do also watch Gamers Nexus, Steve. Again, he actually gave me a shout out the other day because of the Ace Magic debacle that we ran into. I do want to do a follow-up video on that someday. I hate to bring that up, but it would be great to do a follow-up on that. There's some news there. Or really say some tea. So I do want to get to this back fan here. I'm going to kind of give you guys... Actually, you know what? I have not used this camera all night. I have a camera over there. So, well, I have one more screw to put in the bottom. But yeah, I haven't used this angle all night. Poor little camera was doing work, not getting credit for it. So, I'm going to take this rear exhaust fan. Now, that's the cool thing about this, right? So this one is in an exhaust configuration, so that's the normal way. Now, depending on the GPU intake, what Sapphire Ed was saying is that this GPU right here actually blows the air, I believe, down, or is it up? It comes out of this hole. So he was saying that if I could reverse that fan, I could actually kind of turbocharge the GPU cooling or get it to go directly out, or however you want to do that. Well, with these Aeolus fan kits, the new one, I can do that now. I have the ability. We have the power, as they say. So I'm just looking on this one fan. Okay. Removing all of the connections. And I do think there may be one thermal. I thought the thermal was up there. Let's see. I'm going to be able to do this the way I want. There's one connector that may make me have to keep this one for now until I have a chance to get that further. Give me 1 second. So that is oh, there it is. You know what? I totally locked that connection in. I will clean that up later. Okay. Get all these wires out. So I'm able to do a complete upgrade on the fan kit. 3 fans out. And we're going to add the last fan. So Now, I mentioned that this is a cableless fan kit, right? So we're taking a look at the actual fan itself. You can see here, there is a cable that connects there. What normally it means is then the fans connect to each other. There's no interconnect cables that you have to do. You don't have to daisy chain. You don't have to do all that silly stuff. I'm taking the covers off of this though, so we got those. Now, inside your fan blade kit with this new model, the 1203, the 12003 U, you have a bunch of these different connectors. Now, these connect either the fans to each other. So the fan right here, the infinity mirror, I'm going to try to get the infinity mirror facing out. That's going to look so good. So, oh, and you know what? That tab came off without the cover. There we go. So I want to be able to line this up. So we know that the male connection here needs to connect to this, just like so. So this one I could plug into the fan controller and it would be on its own separate bus, essentially. You can have 4 different sets of fans and you can have 4 fans per set. There is another option. If you're really close, maybe it's just turning a corner, you can actually still jumper the fans to each other this way with this shorter cable. There are so many cables in here. So these are the ones that go controller to fans. I did see a longer extension and I just want to see if that will work because I only want to be able to run one cable between these 2 fans. So I've got one fan coming, one cable coming into the fans, and then I've got one cable inner between the 2 fans, and that should work. And I want to see how we're doing. So there's plenty of cables here. As you see, there's a bunch of different interfaces. So depending on how many of these fan kits and sets that you buy, you're going to have plenty of it. Oh, sorry, happy Swedish guy. I can't win the giveaways, but I'm still watching for some reason. You know, it's that darn international law and shipping and rules. It is already hard enough to do a drawing on YouTube. I can't imagine trying to make it safe internationally, but we'll try. We'll see what we can do for next time. I would appreciate that if I were in your position. So I'm putting this fan kit here. I'm just coming around to the front. So I'm putting this fan kit in the back. I'm facing it upward. I'm hiding the cable. There's one cable on the cableless fan kit. I'm going to hide it as best I can at the top so people don't see it. And then there's an infinity mirror on the edge of this fan. So once this thing really gets going, I'm going to be super excited to see what it looks like. I think it's going to look great. Okay, almost there. And if you have not checked out the parts list, I've got most of this stuff available on Amazon, like I said before. So I'm going to daisy chain these fans to each other. So I need to connect this one here. 1 second. I'm going to lay this on its back to make it easier. Overall, what do you guys think of the digital display on this case? I know some people, it could be kind of gimmicky to have that. Personally, I think it's kind of cool. I think it's something I don't see very often in case design. And you know what I didn't do, and I could, maybe I'll do it on the next one. I did not actually remove the standoffs on the bottom here. So you can actually remove the connectors to connect the fans to each other. They're just a twist and remove. I'll do that on the next set when I do a video for those. And then I gotta make some Instagram content. So I want this to daisy chain, but it is fighting me. I've got just very little room. This would probably be one of those things that you connect and then attach. Here we go. I think I got that one right. I'm gonna tuck it down away. Pull that through. There we go. Hopefully I got that just right. I'll connect the top one. There we go. So this connector that we have right here, this is one of 4 connections to this USB block here. Now the USB block, the purpose of this one is to do all the communication with the motherboard, all the communication with the software. So it's going to have a USB connector. I'm going to put fan 1 in here, and then I'm going to connect this in the back on the top of the fan block to the very top here. fan. And that's going to be fan bank 1, fans 1, 2, and 3. So we'll have that. I think there's up to 6. I have to go look. Okay, so here is our USB connector. It's going to take the other USB 2 port up. And if you look here on the control box, there's a slot here, and it's going to fit with the little pokey prongs up. I'm going to slide that up through the bottom here, and I'm going to get as close as I can underneath the GPU. A lot of traffic in here now. This was a lot easier when I was building this thing when it was empty. I got this big GPU in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this block to that other USB port, that second USB port. And what this is going to do when it boots up is the Zeus Cast software is going to allow us now to configure what we want the fans to do, all the communication. So it is going to need power. So I've got my motherboard power. It's going to use 2 SATA connectors. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of power. It is, and that's because it can control 16 fans off one of these controllers. The controller is magnetic too, so you can kind of figure out your cable management if magnetism is going to help you. It does have the connectors to the motherboard RGB. I'm not going to use it. I really don't need to use that because I already have the controller software, and I'm going to be happy using that so we can play around and do actually more, I think, with it. There's some additional adapters for different kinds. There is a PWM connector. So now we've upgraded to PWM fans on here. I do want to check. There was a PWM, it looks like a module. I'm putting this on the SysFan 1. There was a PWM module. And I want to make sure that on the case was working, because I didn't look at that before. And I think it was actually controlling the fan speeds. And I want to make sure I'm right on it. So I'm plugging that in here to the PWM connector on this. That was it. I've now upgraded the fans. Let's take a look at what this is going to look like when it fires up. I want to be able to see all of the fans. Now, if I had an extra or wanted to swap out the case of the CPU cooler, I could absolutely do that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the magic power button. There we go. Look at that. That's completely different now. What a change that is. Oh, wow. So this is the Gamdias Atlas M1 that we just built not more than an hour ago. And there's the infinity mirror edge that you're seeing. I need to turn it this way so you guys can see here. This does so much better for RGB. So there's the full fans. Look at that infinity mirror edge there. So you get kind of a reflection. I've got some other stuff going on in here. That's just in its rainbow mode. So it's looking fantastic. Now, again, it has a full ring around the outside. Oh my gosh, you got to see the front of this. Look at that infinity mirror on there. I'm going to totally do like a cool Instagram 70s, TikTok 70s thing, because that's kind of what it is. So instead of having all of the RGB in the fan blades like everybody else and their brother has, they've gone up and done a bunch of really cool things with this one. So we've got the fan itself does have the little tiny ring in the middle. That's separately controllable, by the way, as well as you've got the outside infinity mirror. And then if we look from the back side, you can actually see the back there of the fans themselves with the RGB. So fantastic, pun intended. Let me show you some other tricks this has got. So neat thing, we're going to boot this since it's already booted back up. We're going to come back to the software on it, and we're going to pull up the Zeus Cast software. And I'm going to show you a neat thing that you can do with this that I haven't seen any other ones doing at this level. Because these fans actually have multiple use cases in them, so you could actually control separately the fans. I'm going to bring up the PC. So this is the computer we just built not long ago. And the Zeus Cast software, the first time you load it, it goes into the tray automatically. So got to come down to the tray, got to pull up this icon. We're getting all the thermal information, and guess what? I've got this Aeolus P2. I can go to lighting and look at this lighting control that you get. You have full control over all the lighting in here. You've got port 2, 1, 3, and 4. I believe you can get 16 out of these fans. It's showing at least 12. You can get at least a dozen in here. I can just check this box and motherboard sync it and not care about it. By default, it's going to do this rainbow pattern. But I wish I could show you both of these side by side. Let me see. I have the tools here. Let's say we want to do something cool. I'm going to go like this. I've got the software on one side, and now I want to put the RGB there. Check this out. So on the software, I can pick the pattern that I want for the specific part of the fan. So if I want static colors, turn off rainbow pattern. These little boxes here are the addressable spaces. So if I say red, and then this one I want to be yellow, and this one I want to be red, and this one I want to be yellow, yellow, red, yellow. What college team is red and yellow? Here we go. Boom, I hit apply. Now you can see it's actually done the whole fan. So the back one's red, that one's yellow. So I know, let's change this one to green. Hit apply. Okay, bottom fan here is green. So I know that the way that this is set up, this is 1, 2, and then 3. I could flip these over, I could do the addressing or whatever. But maybe I'm a Seahawks fan and I want to do this. You can separately control the inside and the outside colors as well on these, which is pretty slick. So that's one of the things. I'm just doing the overall fan colors. So let's say I want to do this really cool pattern that I was just talking about. It took me a little while to get used to, but what I'm picking is all of the fan colors, and I can go to the frame, and I can have a different color on the frame versus the center. So center, unlock rainbow pattern. I'm going to do the centers as green. And I know it's just the first 3 fans, and I'm going to do the frames as blue. So you can do all of them at once, or you can do them individually like this. See if I do that. And now I'm actually going to come up with blue, and oh, did I get a blue center in there too? I think I did. Yeah, I don't have a rainbow center. Okay, take off the rainbow pattern, and I'm going to do green, green, green. Let's see if I did it right. Okay, so this is my Seahawks theme. Now I've got green and blue. I wish I could turn the other RGB off, but yeah, if you guys can see that, the infinity panels updated also. So those are showing the outside frame color. I've got a little tiny bit in the middle, and I can change these completely separate from each other, which is pretty slick. So let me know what you guys think about that. Have you ever seen anything like that? Pretty slick. And then Albert's, one of our winners from earlier, says, nice infinity mirror. Yes, it is, isn't it? Sapphire GPU looks pretty good too. We can go into the trick software. Maybe I am tricking this thing out and I'm making it into the Seahawks theme PC. I could do all of that stuff. So that's the Aeolus fan kit, and it is a completely cableless fan kit. This is their P2 model. It is the latest and greatest from Gamdias. That's the show, folks. I'm going to go ahead and install these. I'm going to go ahead and put these pictures out on Instagram, do some other cool stuff. Thank you to Gamdias for sending this out and supporting your smaller creators out there like myself. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the giveaway. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you have a safe and happy 4th. Keep your fingers safe. Again, can't type if those get injured. Hope you enjoy time with your family or your friends if that's how you choose to celebrate. And let your friends know about this show if you can. That would be awesome for me. And that is everything for tonight. And again, give Gamdias a shout out on socials if you can, and let him know that you enjoyed the show, or maybe if there's something I could do better. But I appreciate it. I will catch you guys all in the next one. See you next time.